So good morning, Ram Ram, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Swaminarayan to everybody who is attending this program. I am Dr. J.B. Prajapati, Chairperson of Verghese Kurien Center of Excellence at IRMA. And I am very happy to see the august presence of our Honorable Minister, Shri Parshottam Rupala sir. એ આપણા પોતાના માના એક છે અને ખૂબ જ આત્મીયતા ભરી સાહેબ આપનું સ્વાગત કરું છું. And all my colleagues who are here, Tribhuvandas Patel, the name is itself is enough to give you that what kind of gigantic leader he was. એમના જેવી જો લીડરશિપ ના મળી હોત તો આજનો ડેરીનો નકશો કદાચ જુદો જ હોત. And that is why the Verghese Kurien Center of Excellence thought that the right tribute to Tribhuvandas Patel is to meet and do. Actually, we wanted to meet physically, but because of this third wave of COVID, we have to meet online. So now I will request our director, Professor Umakant Das, to give a formal welcome address. Professor Das.
Yes. Namaskar, respected Chief Guest Parshottam Rupala ji, Honorable Union Minister for Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Shri Minesh Shah ji, Chairman NDDB. Shri Ramsen Pamsit ji, Chairman AMUL Dairy. Dr. R.S. Sodhi ji, Managing Director GCMMF. Shri Amit Vyas ji, MD AMUL Dairy. Dr. Kharod ji, CEO Tribhuvan Foundation. Dr. Rajoria ji, President IDA. Dr. Manjula Patel, retired professor SPU, Shri Emil Patel ji, grandson of Tribhuvan Kaka, my colleague Dr. Prajapati ji, and other dignitaries present in the webinar. It's my pleasure and privilege indeed to welcome you on my personal behalf and on behalf of the IRMA to the webinar on Tribhuvandas Patel, the father of milk cooperative in India, organized jointly by Verghese Kurien Center of Excellence, IRMA, and Indian Dairy Association, Gujarat chapter. Shri Tribhuvandas Patel was a freedom fighter and a true Gandhian. His unique quality that stands out is his utter dislike for self-promotion, a quality that many admire in the numerous institutions he built and served. He is known as the father of the cooperative movement in India. By the late 1940s, he started working with farmers in Kheda district under the guidance of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And after setting up the Kaira District Cooperative Milk Producers Union 1946, under his chairmanship, he hired Dr. Verghese Kurien in year 1950, who was instrumental in developing the technical and marketing strategy of the union, which was eventually called AMUL. Under his able leadership and guidance, and together with Dr. Kurien, many organizations were started in Anand, including the GCMMF, NDDB, and IRMA. The relationship between Shri Patel and Dr. Kurien was one of the teacher and pupil, architect and builder, and almost father and son duo. Dr. Kurien was very dear to him, who he trusted the most, and in his eyes and in mind, that Dr. Kurien would never go wrong. The fruits of their work are still hanging from the trees planted 75 years ago. He was the former chairman of Tribhuvandas Foundation. Shri Tribhuvandas Patel was awarded the 1963 the Raman Magsaysay Award for community leadership, together with Narasimha Korodi and Dr. Verghese Kurien, and the Padma Bhushan for the Government of India 1964. I was told that when he voluntarily retired from the chairmanship of AMUL in the early 1970, he was presented with a purse of 600,000 rupees by the grateful members of the village cooperatives, 1 rupee per member being the contribution. He used this fund to start a charitable trust named the Tribhuvandas Foundation, which today works on women and children health in Anand, Kheda, and Mahisagar district. Shri Patel was in a true sense a karma yogi who worked for the rural dairy farmers in the spirit of detachment. I'm sure the webinar is going to not only emphasize some of his great contributions to the society and humankind, but also unfold some of the untold stories and memories about him. I once again welcome you all to the wonderful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I see on screen Shri Mitesh Patel, our member of parliament from Vasat. Welcome, sir. આપનું સ્વાગત છે સાહેબ. I also see Dr. R.S. Sodi on the screen. And on behalf of IRMA and Indian Dairy Association, we are very happy to see you all. Now, with this welcome address by our director, I will now request Shri Ramsibhai Parmar, the chairman of AMUL Dairy, to give his opening remarks. Parmar Sahib,
નમસ્કાર.
please, આપનું વક્તવ્ય.
આજના આ પ્રસંગે ઓનલાઈન માધ્યમ થકી જોડાયેલા ભારત સરકારના મત્સ્ય ઉદ્યોગ પશુપાલન અને ડેરી મંત્રી શ્રી પુરુષોત્તમ રૂપાલા સાહેબ, લોકસભાના સાંસદ શ્રી મિતેશભાઈ પટેલ, એનડીટીબીના ચેરમેન શ્રી મિતેશભાઈ, જીસીએમએફના એમડી ભાઈ શ્રી સોડી, અમૂલના એમડી ભાઈ શ્રી અમિત વ્યાસ, નિખિલ ખારોટ, ડોક્ટર જીએસ રાજલિયા, ડોક્ટર મંજુલા પટેલ, ત્રિભુવન કાકાના પૌત્ર શ્રી એમિલ પટેલ, ડોક્ટર ઉમાકાંત દાસ અને ડોક્ટર જેબી પ્રજાપતિ તેમજ જોડાયેલા અન્ય સભ્યોને આજના પ્રસંગે સ્વાગત કરતા હર્ષ અને આનંદની લાગણી અનુભવું છું. આજે આપણે સૌ મોરબી એવા ત્રિભુવન કાકાને કરેલા કાર્યોને તેમના સ્મરણોને યાદ કરવા માટે અહીંયા ઓનલાઈન આપણે બધા ભેગા થયા છે. હું મારા ત્યાં સુધી ત્રિભુવન કાકાનો મને બધા યાદ છે કે એમનો જન્મ આણંદની અંદર થયો હતો. એક સંસ્કારી અને એક સારા વાતાવરણની અંદર ત્રિભુવન કાકાનો ઉછેર થયો અને એમને તૈયાર થયા હતા. ત્રિભુવન કાકા જ્યારથી તૈયાર થયા ત્યારથી મને યાદ છે ત્યાં સુધી હંમેશના માટે ખૂબ સેવાભાવી માણસ તરીકે એમણે કામ કરવા માટે એમણે પ્રયત્ન કર્યા. આણંદની રહીને એ ગ્રામ્ય લેવલે જતા ત્યારે પોતાના ગામડાની અંદર જાય ત્યારે ગામડાની અંદર પશુપાલકો સભાસદો ત્રિભુવન કાકાને એક ફરિયાદ કરતા હતા કે કાકા હમણાં દૂધના ધંધાની અંદર ખૂબ શોષણ થાય છે અને દૂધનો ધંધો પોસાતો નથી. એવા સંજોગોની અંદર મોરબી ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ વિચાર કર્યો કે આ સભાસદોને શોષણમાંથી દૂર કરવા હોય અને બહાર કાઢવા હોય તો મારે કંઈક કરવું જોઈએ. ત્યારે એમને વિચાર આવ્યો કે 5-10 આગેવાનો ભેગા થઈને એમણે નક્કી કર્યું કે આપણે સરદાર સાહેબ પાસે જવું જોઈએ. અને સરદાર સાહેબ પાસે ગયા અને સરદાર સાહેબને વાત કરી કે ગ્રામ્ય લેવલે પશુપાલનનું ખૂબ શોષણ થઈ રહ્યું છે, એમાંથી આપણે એમને મુક્ત કરવા જોઈએ. ત્યારે સરદાર સાહેબે ત્રિભુવન કાકાને કહ્યું કે તમે શું કરવા માંગો છો? એમણે કહ્યું કે હું સહકારી માળખાની દ્રષ્ટિએ એક નાની દૂધ મંડળીની સ્થાપના કરવા માંગુ છું. એમણે કહ્યું કે તમે કરી શકશો? તો કે હા, હું કરી શકીશ. એ દ્રષ્ટિએ ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ એક ગામડાની અંદરથી ફક્ત 250 લીટર દૂધથી એમણે શરૂઆત કરી અને એ 250 દૂધ આણંદની અંદર લાવી નાની રૂમની અંદર એમણે પ્રોસેસ ચાલુ કર્યો. એથી અટક્યા નહીં. દિન પ્રતિદિન ખેડાના આણંદ જિલ્લાની અંદર ગામડે ગામડે ફરીને દૂધ મંડળી ઊભી કરી અને ધીમે ધીમે ખેડાના આણંદ જિલ્લાની અંદર આજની તારીખમાં 1200 મંડળીઓ ઊભી થયેલી છે. બરોબર. ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ દૂધના સારા પોષકક્ષમ ભાવ આપવા માટે પ્રયત્ન કર્યા. એમને બોનસ આપવાનું નક્કી કર્યું. એમને બીજી સગવડો જે આપવાની કરી અને કારણે દિન પ્રતિદિન પશુપાલકની ખૂબ સંખ્યા વધીને દૂધ પણ વધ્યું છે. આજની તારીખે જે 250 લીટરથી દૂધ શરૂ કરેલું આજે આજની તારીખમાં 35 લાખ લીટર દૂધ એક દિવસનું આવે છે. હું માના ત્યાં સુધી સભાસદોને પોષકક્ષમ ભાવ અત્યારે મળી રહ્યો છે, બોનસ પણ મળી રહ્યું છે, વેટેનરી સર્વિસ અનેક રીતે એમને સગવડો સારી મળે છે. એને કારણે બધા જ લોકો પશુપાલનની બાજુ વળ્યા છે એ હું ચોક્કસ માનું છું. આવતી સાલમાં કદાચ હું માનું ત્યાં સુધી 50 લાખ લીટર એક દિવસનું દૂધ આવશે એવું માનું છું. બરોબર. ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ દૂધ એકલું લેવાનો વિચાર નહીં કરેલો. એમને સુખી કરવા માટે, એના પરિવારને સુખી કરવા માટે, એના બાળકોની પણ એમણે ચિંતા કરી, દૂધ દોનારી બહેનોને પણ એમણે ચિંતા કરી. એમણે ત્રિભુવન ફાઉન્ડેશન બનાવ્યું અને એ ત્રિભુવન ફાઉન્ડેશનને આજની તારીખની અંદર ખૂબ સારું એવું ચાલે છે અને ગામડાની બહેનોને વધારે સેવા આપવાનું કામ ત્રિભુવન ફાઉન્ડેશન મારફતે થઈ રહ્યું છે. કાકા એટલેથી અટક્યા નથી. મેં જોયું એ પ્રમાણે ખેડાના આણંદ જિલ્લાની અંદર તાલુકે એમણે હોસ્પિટલો બનાવી. એ હોસ્પિટલો મેં જોઈ ત્યારે પણ મને લાગ્યું કે આ હોસ્પિટલનું કદાચ ઉદઘાટન ટૂંકા સમયની અંદર થયું છે. એટલી સારી ક્વોલિટીનો મકાન બનાવીને ગામડાની અંદર સારી રીતે એ સેવા સારી આપી રહ્યા છે. એને કારણે ખેડૂતોના દિલમાં ત્રિભુવન કાકા વસેલા છે. હું મને ત્યાં સુધી ત્રિભુવન કાકાને કારણે જ આ કોરોનાના સમયની અંદર જો ગામડો ટકી શક્યા હોય તો ફક્ત એક દૂધના ધંધા પર ટકી શકે, એમની દૂધ મંડળી પર ટકી શક્યા છે. એ સભાસદો માટે ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ જે કામગીરી કર્યું છે એવા સમયની અંદર ત્રિભુવન કાકાને કુરિયન સાહેબ મળી ગયા અને એ કુરિયન સાહેબ અને ત્રિભુવન કાકા બંને ભેગા થઈને અમૂલની સ્થાપના કરી અને સ્થાપના કર્યા પછી તેનું ડેવલપમેન્ટ કરવા માટે નવી ટેકનોલોજીઓ લાવીને દેશને દુનિયાની અંદર એશિયાની અંદર જ્યારે અમૂલનું નામ બન્યું છે ત્યારે આજે અમૂલ સારી ક્વોલિટીની પ્રોડક્ટ આપે છે. એને કારણે હું મને ત્યાં સુધી દેશ અને વિદેશની અંદર બાય પ્રોડક્ટ જાય છે અને સારું એનું વેચાણ થઈ રહ્યું છે. અમૂલ આજે નાની હતો અને આજની તારીખની અંદર 10,000 કરોડનું ટર્નઓવર આજની તારીખે પહોંચી ગયેલું છે. એ જ સંસ્થા દિન પ્રતિદિન હું માને ત્યાં સુધી જે નવી ટેકનોલોજી આવી રહી છે એ નવી ટેકનોલોજીનો પણ અમે ઉપયોગ કરી રહ્યા છે. એને કારણે સભાસદોને ખૂબ ફાયદો થાય છે. હું માને ત્યાં સુધી ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ જે કામગીરી કરી એની અંદર મેં જોયું છે ગામડાની મંડળીની અંદર અમે ત્રિભુવન કાકાનો જે ફોટો આપ્યો છે એ સવારમાં જ્યારે મંડળીની અંદર કર્મચારીઓ જાય ત્યારે ઘણી જગ્યાએ મેં જોયું છે કે ત્રિભુવન કાકાના ફોટાની અંદર દીવો કરીને અગરબત્તી કરતા હોય છે. સાહેબ સભાસદો એમનો નમસ્કાર કરતા હોય છે, કારણ કે આખી જિંદગીભર પોતાના અને પોતાના બાળકોને ભવિષ્ય માટે એમણે જે કામ કરી આપી છે એ હૃદયની અંદર ત્રિભુવન કાકા અત્યારે ખેડૂતના હૃદયની અંદર વસેલા છે. ખરેખર ત્રિભુવન કાકા માટે આપણે જેટલું કહીએ તેટલું ઓછું છે. એમણે જે કામગીરી કરીને કુરિયન સાહેબે કામગીરી કરી એને કારણે દૂધના ધંધાની અંદર જે શ્વેત ક્રાંતિ આવી એ બંનેને કારણે આવી છે. ખરેખર એમનો જેટલો આભાર માનો તેટલો છે. છેલ્લે એમને કોટી કોટી વંદન કરું છું.
ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર સાહેબ. આપની તબિયત પણ નાદુરસ્ત હોવા છતાં આપ હાજર રહીને જે આપને પ્રોત્સાહન આપ્યું બદલ ખૂબ આભાર. નાઉ વિલ ટ્રાય ટુ લિસન અવર ઓનરેબલ મિનિસ્ટર સર પુરુષોત્તમ રૂપાલાજી. રૂપાલા સાહેબનો પરિચય તો મારા જેવા આપવા માટે બહુ નાનું પડ્યું, પણ સાહેબ આખું ગુજરાત અને હવે તો આખો દેશ આપનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભારી છે. આપણે એગ્રીકલ્ચર મિનિસ્ટર તરીકે અને પછી હવે અમારી સ્પેશિયલ મિનિસ્ટ્રીમાં ખૂબ જ સારા પગલાં લીધા છે એન્ડ વી આર ઓલ વેરી હેપી. એન્ડ ખૂબ જ વ્યસ્ત હોવા છતાં પણ આપ આજે હાજર રહ્યા છો તો અમારા માટે ખૂબ જ ઉત્સાહજનક બાબત છે. અને અમે ત્રિભુવન કાકાના કાર્યો અને કુરિયન સાહેબના કાર્યો ખૂબ આગળ લઈ જઈશું અને આપની મિનિસ્ટ્રીને જે કંઈ જરૂર હોય એ સર્વે અમે આપવા માટે તૈયાર છે. તો વધુ સમય વ્યસ્ત ન કરતા અમારા બધા જ પેનલ મેમ્બર્સ અને ઘણા બધા જે યુટ્યુબ પર જોઈ રહ્યા છે એ આપનું વક્તવ્ય સાંભળવા માટે ખૂબ જ આતુર છે. યુ આર વેલકમ સર એન્ડ પ્લીઝ ગ્રેસ અસ, પ્લીઝ બ્લેસ અસ.
जी नमस्कार, आप बधाने मारा राम राम। मेरी आवाज सबको आ रही है?
समझाइए सर।
ओके, राम राम
आ रही है।
राम 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 राम।
राम राम।
આજના વર્ગીસ કુરિયન સેન્ટર ઓફ એક્સેલન્સ અને IRMA ના અનુસંધાને ત્રિભુવન કાકાને યાદ કરવાના ઉત્તમ કાર્યક્રમમાં ઉપસ્થિત આપણા ચેરમેન આદરણીય રામસિંહભાઈ, અમારા લાડીલા સાંસદ ભાઈ શ્રી મિતેશભાઈ, NDDB ના સન્માનનીય ચેરમેન ભાઈ શ્રી મિનેશભાઈ, શ્રીમાન સોઢીજી, श्रीमान अमित जी, भाई श्री जशभाई प्रजापति जी अने टेक्नोलॉजी ना माध्यम थी जोड़ायेला अन्य सौने मारा जाजा थी राम राम। हूँ IRMA ने अने आ संस्थाना आयोजकों ने हृदयपूर्वक ना अभिनंदन आपू छू के आपे त्रिभुवन काकाना गुणों ने स्मरण करवा माटेनो एक सुंदर मजानो कार्यक्रम आयोजित कर्यो। आपणामां जे आपणी संस्कृतिमां जे श्राद्धनी विधिओ चाले छे ने, लोको एने भले जे मूलवता होय ए प्रमाणे मूलवे, अने मने ए रूढिओ अने विधिओ माटे कई कहेवानो आशय नथी, पण ए आपणा वडीलोने आपणे स्मरण करवा माटेनी एक पद्धति छे के आपणा वडवाओ हता एने आ भावतुं तुं એટલે એના માટે એને ભાવતી રસોઈઓ બનાવીને આપણે જમાડવાનો માનસિક પ્રયાસ કરીએ છીએ. એવો આ કામ ગણાશે કે ત્રિભુવન કાકા જેવા એક સમર્થ નેતા આપણા ગામમાં હતા, આપણી વચ્ચે હતા અને આવી ભવ્ય સંસ્થાઓનો વારસો આપણને આપીને ગયા. આજે દેશ ગૌરવ લે છે અમૂલ ધ ટેસ્ટ ઓફ ઇન્ડિયાના નામે. એનું બીજ વાવનાર એ ત્રિભુવન કાકા હતા. કેટલા શક્તિશાળી માણસો હશે, કેટલી એમની દીર્ઘ દ્રષ્ટિ હશે. એ ત્રિપુટી મળી ત્રિભુવન કાકા, HM દલાયા સાહેબ અને વર્ગીસ સાહેબ, ડોક્ટર કુરિયન સાહેબ. આ 3 જણાની ત્રિપુટીનો યોગ આણંદની ધરતી ઉપર થયો, પણ એનું લોહ ચુંબક ત્રિભુવન કાકા હતા. એ ત્યાં ઉભા રહ્યા એટલે બાકીની બધી ખીલીઓ ત્યાં ખેંચાઈને આવી. ત્રિભુવન કાકા નો તો કાંઈ થવાનું નહોતું. એટલે ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ આ પાયો નાખ્યો અને એના ફળ એટલા સુંદર આવ્યા કે હજી આપણે લણ્યા જ કરીએ ને ભાવિ પેઢીઓ પણ લણ્યા જ કરશે અને એનું પોષણ થતું રહેશે. એવો મજબૂત પાયો નાખનારા ત્રિભુવન કાકાના ચરણોમાં એમને પૂર્વકના મારા રામ રામ કહું છું. સાથે સંગોષ્ઠી કરવાનો, એમનું નામ લેવાનો અને એ ઉપસ્થિત હોય એવા કાર્યક્રમનો પરિવારને મારા રામ રામ પહોંચાડજો. અને આ પરિવાર પ્રત્યે વ્યક્તિગત ધોરણે આપણે સૌ સહકારી ક્ષેત્રના લોકો અમે કૃતજ્ઞ છીએ. એમના કરતા અમને ગર્વ થાય છે. ટેકનોલોજીનો આજે પ્રયોગ સંસ્થાઓ દ્વારા થઈ રહ્યો છે. વેટરનરીની સર્વિસથી માંડીને ગુણવત્તાની ચકાસણી અને ગુણવત્તાનો અમૂલનો આગ્રહ, એ તો એની આબરૂ છે. દુનિયાભરમાં શાખ એટલી તો છે કે ભાઈ અમૂલનું લઈ આવવું પડી એટલે પછી તમારે કઈ જોવું પણ નહીં. એ તમારી શાખ છે અને તમે 50 લાખ લીટરનો લક્ષ્યાંક હાંસલ કરવા તરફ આગળ વધી રહ્યા છો. એને હું આ તબક્કે મારી અંતઃકરણ પૂર્વકની શુભકામનાઓ પાઠવું છું. ભગવાનને પ્રાર્થના કરું છું તમારા પંથમાં કોઈ કંટક ના રહે એ દિશામાં આપ સૌ આગળ વધો. મારે માત્ર 2 વાત કરવી છે. એક, જે ત્રિભુવન કાકાનું ફાઉન્ડેશન છે એના વિશે મારા ધ્યાનમાં આવ્યું. મને સ્મરણ થયું આ ફાઉન્ડેશનની વાત સાંભળીને કે જ્યારે ગાંધીજી આફ્રિકા છોડીને ભારત આવ્યા હતા એ વખતે આફ્રિકાના લોકોએ ગાંધીજીને ખૂબ કિંમતી ભેટો આપી હતી અને ગાંધીજીને એ સ્વીકારવા માટેનું મોટું દબાણ કર્યું હતું. પણ ગાંધીજી તો આવું કશું સ્વીકારતા નહીં. એના ઘરમાં ઝઘડો થયેલો. કસ્તુરબાએ કીધું હતું કે તમને કોક પ્રેમથી આપે છે તો લઈ લો, આમ તો કોઈ દી 2 પૈસા કમાણા નહીં તમે હરખા. અને અમારા ભાગમાં કોઈ દિવસ સુખ ન આવ્યું. પણ હવે દીકરાઓ ને દીકરીની વહુઓ ને એના માટે તો કંઈક 2 પાંદડે કંઈક થવાનો મોકો આપ્યો છે. ભગવાનને તમને પ્રેમથી આપે છે તોય નથી લેતા. એનો બહુ મોટો ઝઘડો થયેલો. પણ ગાંધીજી ટસના મસ નહીં થયેલા અને એ રકમ પાછી લોટાવી. ત્યારે તે વખતના આફ્રિકાના સમાજે એમ કહ્યું કે અમે તો તમને આપી દીધા, હવે અમે એને ન પાછા લઈ શકીએ. અને એનો એક મોટો પ્રશ્ન ઉભો થયો અને એમાંથી પછી નક્કી થયું કે એક આશ્રમની સ્થાપના કરવામાં આવે આફ્રિકામાં. અને એ ફિનિક્સ આશ્રમ આજે પણ આફ્રિકામાં ચાલે છે. જે આફ્રિકાના ગુજરાતીઓએ ગાંધીજીને ભેટ આપી હતી એમાંથી સ્થપાયેલો આશ્રમ આજે પણ ત્યાં લોકોની સેવામાં કાર્યરત છે. મને ઉલ્લેખ કરતા ગર્વ થાય છે કે ત્રિભુવન કાકાને એ વખતના ગામડાના સભાસદોએ જે ભેટ રૂપે રકમ આપી હતી એ ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ પણ નહીં સ્વીકારી. જો આનું નામ ગાંધીવાદી કહેવાય. વાતો કરવા વાળા તો આપણને ખૂબ મળે છે, ઉદાહરણો ખૂબ આપણે સાંભળીએ છીએ અને ગમે ત્યારે બપોર પછી કોઈ પણ ગાંધીવાદી થઈ જાય છે. એવા નહીં, આ તો ગાંધીજીના પગલે જીવન જીવનારા, ગાંધીજીના મળેલી દાનની રકમમાંથી ફિનિક્સ આશ્રમ આફ્રિકામાં ચાલે છે. ત્રિભુવનભાઈ પટેલને મળેલી ભેટની રકમમાંથી ત્રિભુવનદાસ ફાઉન્ડેશન આપણા આણંદની અંદર ચાલે છે. મને ગર્વ થાય છે આ વાતનો ઉલ્લેખ કરવા માટે. અને એના માધ્યમથી તમે બાળકો અને મહિલાઓના આરોગ્યનું કામ કરો છો એ જાણીને તો મને ઓર ખુશી કે આ લોકો કેટલા વિઝનરી હશે. જો એમણે એ દૂધ અને દૂધની બનાવટો કે એને માટેનું ટ્રસ્ટ ના બનાવ્યું અથવા તો એને પ્રાયોરિટી નહીં આપી, પણ બાળકો અને મહિલાઓના આરોગ્યને નિશાન બનાવ્યું. મારી આપ સૌને એના કરતા હરતાને અત્યારે જે લોકો આ ફાઉન્ડેશનની પ્રવૃત્તિ સંભાળતા હોય એને એક નમ્ર વિનંતી સૂચન કરવાનું છે કે આપણા પ્રધાનમંત્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ અત્યારે આખા દેશમાં કુપોષણ સામેની લડાઈનું નેતૃત્વ કરી રહ્યા છે અને આખા દેશને અવેર કરી રહ્યા છે. એ જાગૃતિનું એક બહુ મોટું કામ આખા દેશમાં ઉપાડ્યું છે અને મહિલા અને બાળ કલ્યાણ વિભાગ પણ એમાં ખૂબ આગળ વધી રહ્યું છે અને આપ બધા પણ એનાથી પરિચિત છો. તો મને એવું લાગે છે કે આપણું આ ફાઉન્ડેશન પણ એમાં એ નાની મોટી જે સેવાઓ કરતા હોય એને બદલે ફોકસ કરે અને આ બાળકોના કુપોષણ સામેની લડાઈ આપણા આણંદ જિલ્લામાંથી મિનિમમ શરૂ કરે અને પછી આખા એ રાજ્યનું નેતૃત્વ કરે એવી સ્થિતિમાં આપણે આગળ વધી શકીએ. એ દિશામાં આ ફાઉન્ડેશનના માધ્યમથી સક્રિય કાર્યક્રમો થાય તો મને એવું લાગે છે કે આપણે પ્રધાનમંત્રી શ્રીની અત્યારની જે એમની એક પ્રકારની ઈચ્છા છે કે આ દેશ એ સ્વસ્થ ભારત બનવું જોઈએ, સમૃદ્ધ ભારત બનવું જોઈએ, પણ સ્વસ્થ ભારત બનવું જોઈએ. અને જ્યારે આપણે આઝાદીનો અમૃત મહોત્સવ મનાવી રહ્યા છીએ ત્યારે સ્વસ્થ ભારત બનાવવાની દિશામાં આ ફાઉન્ડેશનના માધ્યમથી, અને ફાઉન્ડેશન બાળકો માટેની કાળજીનું કામ કરી જ રહ્યું છે, એને ફોકસ કરીએ અને કેવી રીતે એ બાળકોને આપણે ટાર્ગેટ કરીને આખી તાકાતને કેન્દ્રિત કરીએ. અમૂલ, એનડીડીબી અને આપણા બધા સહકારી ક્ષેત્રના લોકોને એ યોજનાની અંદર સાથે જોડી અને રાજ્યભરમાંથી કુપોષણને ભગાડી દેવા માટેનું એક યુદ્ધ જાહેર કરી શકાય એવા હું તો શબ્દો વાપરું છું. પણ હું એવું બધું કમ્પેલ કરવાના મતનો નથી, પણ ફાઉન્ડેશનની અંદર સક્રિય સભ્યો એ કુપોષણ સામેની લડાઈને કેન્દ્રમાં રાખી અને કાર્યક્રમોનું આયોજન કરે એવું એક મારું નમ્ર સૂચન છે આજની તકે. મને એમ લાગે છે કે ત્રિભુવન કાકા પણ એમની ચેતના જ્યાં હશે ત્યાંથી આપણને આ કાર્યક્રમમાં આશીર્વાદ આપશે. એક બીજો વિષય મારા ધ્યાનમાં ક્યાંકથી આવ્યો તો મને એમ છે કે પ્રજાપતિ તરફથી મળેલા મેસેજમાં કે એમાં ક્યાંક હતો કે ડેરીમાં આપણે ખૂબ આગળ વધ્યા, એના ટર્નઓવરની દૃષ્ટિએ, એના પ્રોડક્શનની દૃષ્ટિએ, એના મેન્યુફેક્ચરિંગની દૃષ્ટિએ, એના લાભાલાભની દૃષ્ટિએ. એટલે એની વિગતોમાં હું જવાના મતનો નથી, પણ આજે દેશનું એક મુખ્ય આવકનું સાધન અને ગ્રામ્ય અર્થતંત્ર માટેની એક મજબૂત વ્યવસ્થા તરીકે આપણે ડેરી સેક્ટરને જોઈ રહ્યા છીએ અને એનું કોન્ટ્રીબ્યુશન પણ આપણે બધા સમજી રહ્યા છીએ. પણ ડેરી સાયન્સને લગતી કોલેજો છે, એને લગતી વિદ્યા શાખાઓ પણ છે, પણ એ હજી બાય પ્રોડક્ટ જેટલી છે, એકદમ મેઇન ફોકસમાં નથી. એટલે રાષ્ટ્રીય સ્તરની એક આપણી એવી સંસ્થા ડેરીના એજ્યુકેશનને લગતી આપણે ઊભી કરવા માટેની દિશામાં પ્રયાસ કરવો જોઈએ. જેમ સરદાર પટેલ ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યૂટ ઓફ ટેકનોલોજી આપણી એક સુરતની અંદર એક સંસ્થા જેવી છે, એ પ્રકારના સ્તરની એક સંસ્થા ડેરીના સંબંધિત, આપણા ડેરીના બધા વિષયોને સંબંધિત, અને એ ત્રિભુવન કાકાના સ્મરણની અંદર આપણે જો એ દિશામાં કોઈ પગલા રાખીએ તો અમૂલ અને એનડીડીબી ના બધા જ આગેવાનોને આ તકે મને સ્મરણ કરાવવાનું મન થાય છે કે આપ આ દિશામાં ગંભીરતાથી આગળ વધો. ભારત સરકાર એ દિશામાં આપની સાથે ખભો મિલાવીને ડેરીનું એક રાષ્ટ્રીય સ્તરનું એક સંસ્થાન એને પણ આપણે વિકસાવવા માટેનો પ્રયાસ કરીએ અને મિલ્ક નગરી તરીકે જે આપણી આણંદની શાખ છે એની અંદર એક વધારાનું છોગું ઉમેરવા માટેનો પણ આપણે સૌ સાથે મળીને પ્રયાસ કરીએ. તો મને એમ લાગે છે કે એ આપણે ત્રિભુવન કાકાને સાચ અર્થમાં આપણે એને સ્મરણ કર્યા કહેવાશે અને એની ચેતના આપણને આ કાર્યક્રમમાં સફળતા આપવા માટેનો પ્રયાસ કરશે. એક આપણે જ્યારે રામસિંહભાઈ જેવા પીઢ સહકારી નેતા આપણું નેતૃત્વ કરી રહ્યા હોય સહકાર વિભાગનું, અમૂલનું, તો મને કહેવા દો કે યુવા પેઢીને કોઓપરેટિવ્સ તરફ લાવવા માટેનું કંઈક આપણે આયોજન કરવું પડશે. નહીતર કોઓપરેટિવની હવે એક એવી છાપ પડતી જાય છે કે એમાં સફેદ છાપરા વાળા હોય એ જ બધા કામ કરે છે, એમાં ગરઢિયા બુઢિયા હોય એ સહકારીમાં આવે છે. યુવાનોને માટેનું કોઈક એક આદુ આપણું એમાં કંઈક એક્ટિવિટી આપણે એવી ડેવલપ કરવાની જરૂર છે જેથી કરીને યુથ આવે. ભલે એને આપણે ડમી તરીકેની કંઈક તમે એક એવી કંઈક યોજનાનું આવિષ્કરણ કરો જેના માધ્યમથી યુથ એક્ટિવિટીઝને કંઈક રીતે આપણે એમાં સ્કોપ આપવાની જરૂર છે જેથી કરીને આપણી ભાવિ પેઢી છે એ આ કોઓપરેટિવને સમજે. સાહેબ એમને ખ્યાલ હોવો જોઈએ ને કે આ અમૂલ જેવડું સામ્રાજ્ય કેના આધાર ઉપર ઊભું થાય છે, એના મૂળભૂત તત્વો શું છે, એની પાછળનું વિજ્ઞાન શું છે, એની પાછળની ભાવનાઓ શું છે, અને એને આપણે એક્સેપ્ટ કરીએ તો શું થઈ શકે. એ બાળકોમાં કેવી રીતે આવે, આપણા એજ્યુકેશનમાં કેવી રીતે આવે અને યુથ એ આ પ્રવૃત્તિમાં કેવી રીતે એક્ટિવેટ થાય, એને માટે પણ આપણે આ ફાઉન્ડેશનના માધ્યમથી અથવા તો આપણી આ કોઓપરેટિવ સંસ્થાઓના માધ્યમથી આપણે કશાક નક્કર પગલાં લેવાની દિશામાં જો વિચારીએ તો મને એમ લાગે છે કે ત્રિભુવન કાકાને સાચ અર્થમાં આપણે સ્મરણ કર્યું ગણાશે, એને સાચી દિશામાં આપણે યાદ કર્યા ગણાશે. અને જે લોકોએ સેન્ટર ફોર એક્સેલન્સ ની રચના કરીએ છે અને આ IRMA વગેરે જે આપણને આજે સંસ્થાઓ આપણને મળી છે અને જેના સુફળ આપણે પ્રાપ્ત કરી રહ્યા છીએ, તો એને વધારે પોષક બનાવવા માટે આ દિશાના 2-3 સૂચનો કરવાનો મને મન થયું હતું. એ આપ સૌને વચ્ચે મેં મૂક્યા છે. પુનશ્ચ ઉપસ્થિત સૌ લોકોને મારા નમસ્કાર, સૌને રામ રામ અને પૂજ્ય ત્રિભુવન કાકાને એમની ચેતનાને વંદન સાથે મારી વાતને વિરામ આપું છું. ધન્યવાદ.
ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર સાહેબ, આપનો ખૂબ આભાર. અમારા બધાને મનની વાત આપે કહી અને ચોક્કસ અમે સરદાર સાહેબના સપનો અને ત્રિભુવન કાકાના સપનો સાકાર કરવા માટે અમે બધા કટિબદ્ધ છીએ. એન્ડ વી આર કમિટેડ ટુ ધી ગ્રોથ ઓફ ડેરી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી ઇન ઇન્ડિયા. અને આપણે આખા દુનિયા સાથે પણ આપણા બધાના હિતો માટે, આપણા ખેડૂતોના હિતો માટે લડી લેવા માટે તૈયાર છે. અને આપણી પાસે ઘણા ડાયનેમિક લીડર્સ છે અને પ્રોફેશનલ્સ પણ છે. જે કામ ત્રિભુવન કાકાએ કર્યું હતું એ આપણે લીડરશિપમાં અમે ફરીથી કન્ટિન્યુ કરીશું. આ પ્રસંગે બિફોર વી લિસન ટુ ડોક્ટર નિખિલ ખારોડ, આઈ વિલ જસ્ટ લાઈક ટુ રિક્વેસ્ટ મિતેશભાઈ પટેલ, અવર મેમ્બર ઓફ પાર્લામેન્ટ, ટુ સે ફ્યુ વર્ડ્સ. મિતેશભાઈ, આપનો પ્રતિભાવ આપશો. મિતેશભાઈ અનમ્યુટ કરીને.
મિતેશભાઈ, પછી હું રજા લેવાનો છું આપની વચ્ચે.
જી સાહેબ નમસ્કાર. નમસ્કાર સાહેબ, આપ રજા લો. થેન્ક યુ સાહેબ. આદરણીય કેન્દ્રીય મંત્રી શ્રી, આપ સૌ આપણા સૌના આદરણીય શ્રી પરસોત્તમ રૂપાલા સાહેબ, આપણા ચેરમેન શ્રી રામસિંહ પરમાર સાહેબ, સોઢી સાહેબ, અમિતભાઈ વ્યાસ, ડોક્ટર ઉમાકાંત, ડોક્ટર જેબી પ્રજાપતિ, હેમેલભાઈ પટેલ, રામસિંહભાઈ પરમાર શ્રી, સર્વ ઓનલાઈન થી જોડાયેલા સર્વ મહાનુભાવો, આજે જે આપણને આદરણીય રૂપાલા સાહેબે જે સ્મરણો આપ્યા અને જે એમને કહ્યું કે ડેરીની જે કોલેજ છે એને સરદાર પટેલ ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યૂટ ઓફ ડેરી ટેકનોલોજી આપી શકાય અને એક નવી ટેકનોલોજી તરીકે રાષ્ટ્રીય કક્ષાનું સંસ્થાન ઊભું થાય એવું એમને ભારત સરકાર તરફથી એને જેટલા આપણને સહકાર જોઈએ એ સહકાર આપવા માટે જે સાહેબે પ્રપોઝલ મૂક્યું એને હું આવકારું છું. અને આપ સૌ પણ એને આવકારશો અને એને જે સાહેબે કહ્યું છે એ પ્રમાણે આપણે સૌ એક આગળ જઈએ. ત્રિભુવનદાસ કાકાએ જે સહકારી સંસ્થા માટે, સહકાર માટે અને જે ડેરી ઉદ્યોગ વિકસાવવા માટે જે એમને યોગદાન આપ્યું છે એ આજે એમના ચરણોમાં પણ હું ખૂબ ખૂબ વંદન કરું છું, એમને પણ હું ખૂબ ખૂબ નમન કરું છું. આપણા જ ચરોતરના ભૂમિ ઉપર જન્મેલા એવા સરદાર સાહેબને પણ ખૂબ ખૂબ નમન કરું છું, એમને પણ ખૂબ ખૂબ વંદન કરું છું. અમૂલ ડેરી અત્યારે વિકસાવી છે એની માટેના સર્વ મહાનુભાવોએ જેને એક 250 લીટર થી આટલા હજારો લીટર, લાખો લીટર સુધી જે અમૂલ ડેરીને લઈ ગયા છે અને વિશ્વમાં સૌથી મોટી ડેરી એટલે ડેરી ઉદ્યોગમાં સૌથી મોટું નામ આણંદ જિલ્લામાં અમૂલનું જે નામ થયું છે, સૌ મહાનુભાવોને પણ હું ખૂબ ખૂબ વંદન કરું છું. સૌનું ખૂબ મોટું યોગદાન છે ડેરીમાં, એનડીટીબીમાં આ સંસ્થાને ડેવલપ કરવામાં અને ડેરી ઉદ્યોગ સાથે જોડાયેલા સર્વ ખેડૂતોને જોડે રાખી ખેડૂતો પણ પોતે આત્મનિર્ભર બને, ખેડૂતો પણ પોતે આગળ આવે એ માટેના જે પ્રયત્નો કર્યા છે એ બદલ પણ સર્વ મહાનુભાવોનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આવકારું છું અને એમનું પણ હું ખૂબ ખૂબ વંદન કરું છું અને એમનો પણ હું ખૂબ ખૂબ આ તબક્કે આભાર માનું છું. આપણા આદરણીય રૂપાલા સાહેબે સહકાર ઉદ્યોગમાં ફિશર્સ જે મંત્રીશ્રીમાં એમને જે આપણને સહકાર આપવા માટે જે વચનો આપ્યા છે એ બદલ પણ એમનો હું ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર માનું છું. ફરીથી ત્રિભુવનદાસ કાકાને અને સૌ વડીલોને યાદ કરી નમન કરી અને મારી વાતને અંત કરું છું. નમસ્કાર.
ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર મિતેશભાઈ સાહેબ. આપના વિચારો જાણી ખૂબ આનંદ થયો અને આપણે બધા સાથે મળીને ત્રિભુવન કાકાને સાચી શ્રદ્ધાંજલિ આપીશું અને સરદાર સાહેબને ડેફિનેટલી એક વધારે નજરાણું આપી શકીએ એવા ખૂબ જ પ્રયત્ન કરીશું. રૂપાલા સાહેબે આમ કહ્યું તેમ he will be leaving, but now we'll go ahead with our scheduled program. Actually, Tribhuvandas Foundation ના CEO છે ડોક્ટર નિખિલ ખારોડ. એ પોતે પેડિયાટ્રિશિયન છે અને he is serving in real sense ગાંધીવાદી રિયલ સાયન્સ કેવા હોય. એક પોતે કવિ પણ છે. એકચ્યુઅલી હું જ્યારે મળ્યો ત્યારે મને આનંદ થયો કે એક પેડિયાટ્રિશિયન પણ આવું સરસ લખી શકે. સો નિખિલભાઈ આપણે કરમસદ મેડિકલ કોલેજમાં સેવા આપીને અત્યારે પણ ઓપીડીમાં સેવા આપી રહ્યા છે. અને રૂપાલા સાહેબ શાયદ આપણી વચ્ચેથી જઈ રહ્યા છે, તો સાહેબને ખૂબ ખૂબ ફરીથી આભાર માનીને વિદાય લઈશું. તો હવે આપણે as per our schedule, I will request now Dr. Nikhil Kharod to please start. Please take your speech, sir. Nikhil bhai, the ground is yours now.
Thank you, Dash bhai. आदरणीय रूपाला जी, आदरणीय मिनेश भाई शाह, चेयरमैन एनडीडीबी, आदरणीय राम सिंह भाई परमार, चेयरमैन अमूल, आदरणीय सोधी जी, एमडी जीसी एमएमएफ, अमित भाई, एमडी अमूल, respected director IRMA, Umakant Das, our MP, Mitesh Bhai, and Mr. Rajoria, President IDA, and all the dignitaries who have gathered to share their memories and views on Tribhuvandas Kaka. It is my great honor to have got this opportunity to speak about Tribhuvandas Patel, a great man under whom I started my professional life in 1984 as a young pediatrician. We can say many things, but in that given time, I will try to share some insights that I've gained while working in Tribhuvandas Foundation, because that has been a learning experience for me and is still a guiding force for me in life. And I think it will be useful to share these few things with all the learned and interested listeners. In his memoir titled I Too Had a Dream, Dr. Kurien has written a small letter to his grandson in the preface. And he has something like this to say. I quote, I started my working life soon after our country became independent. So that was the time when India had just got the freedom, political freedom. The noblest task in those days was to contribute in whatever way we could towards building an India of our dreams, a nation where our people would not hold their heads high in freedom, but would also be free from hunger and poverty. So that was the dream at that time. A nation where our people could live with equal respect and love for one another, a nation that would eventually be counted among the foremost nations of the world. It was then that I realized, and this is what he tells his grandson, in all humility, that choosing to lead one kind of life means putting aside the desire to pursue other options. He had options to go to any metropolitan city or any big project, but he somehow made a choice. This transformation took place within me 50 years ago, when I agreed to work for a small cooperative of dairy farmers who were trying to gain control over their lives. So the true freedom was yet to arrive. Politically, we were free, but the dairy farmers were still not freed from the exploitation. And this is where Dr. Kurien made a choice. And whatever I'm going to talk about in this little discourse is about the man, the great man responsible for this transformation. You may have technocrats, but you will not get personality like Tribhuvandas Patel who could transform the minds and hearts of intellectuals in those days. And this is what ultimately led to the creation of country's largest food brand, that is AMUL, and that too through rural cooperatives. A very unique thing to even think about in those days and also be successful at. These cooperatives have also become powerful agents of social change. We are talking about diversified, integrated approach these days. But in its wake, this cooperative movement has led to many other things, like this institution, Tribhuvandas Foundation. India's dairy sector is the largest rural employment provider. Very important thing considering the current pandemic and the kind of economic issue that we are facing. And today, India is world's largest milk producer. Even during the recent pandemic, milk production has continued uninterrupted. And due to this, rural economy has remained more or less unaffected. The silent force behind this revolution is Tribhuvandas Patel, whom Dr. Verghese Kurien has acknowledged as his guru. In fact, Dr. Kurien had mentioned once, I quote, "You may have another Kurien, but where will you get another Tribhuvandas? Without Tribhuvandas, Kurien alone could not have done anything," unquote. Tribhuvandas Patel, fondly remembered as Tribhuvan Kaka or simply Kaka by all of us, chose to remain away from the limelight and devoted himself to the farmers' welfare throughout his life in a very true Gandhian spirit. He was a silent worker and always a guiding force. In Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna says, Lokesmin vividhanishta pura prokta mayanagar gnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. In this world, twofold is the self-application of the soul. That of the Sankhyas, the Buddhi Vadi, by the yoga of knowledge, and that of the yogi or karma yogi through the yoga of works. Tribhuvan Kaka can be truly described as a karma yogi. But he was intelligent enough to understand the value of professionals, the Sankhyas, in the crusade he had initiated. Born into an extremely wealthy family in Anand, he dedicated his life to the service of the nation, first as a freedom fighter and then as the untiring leader of dairy farmers. His early education took place in Anand's DN High School, Dadabhai Navroji High School, and later on he went to Gujarat Vidyapith of his own choice because he wanted to go to a place which was started by Mahatma Gandhi to impart education with nationalistic values in those days. These two institutions had a very strong influence on the young mind of Tribhuvandas Patel. Of course, his father wanted him to become an officer in British government, and that was the usual line of thinking in feudal times. But Tribhuvan Kaka was a different soul. Under Gandhian influence, he was determined to pursue nationalistic education. At some stage, he had to leave it because unfortunately his father passed away, and due to his demise, he had to leave the education and take over the family responsibility. However, he was by now thoroughly inspired by Gandhian thought and started wearing khadi and joined freedom struggle. What really gave his life a distinct shape and mission was the initiation of dairy cooperative. How it happened, we have heard about this in a number of times, and even during this webinar, a mention was made. So I'll not go into those details, but it is important to remember that after initial struggles, he found Dr. Verghese Kurien, and what transpired subsequently is now our cherished legacy and also our responsibility. Many things have been written about and said about the evolution of dairy cooperatives and the leadership roles of Tribhuvan Kaka and Dr. Verghese Kurien. Having worked as a medical professional pediatrician in Tribhuvandas Foundation for many years, I have come to realize how difficult it is to bring people together and keep them together in a democratic manner. Without the kind of leadership that Tribhuvan Kaka provided, it is difficult to imagine evolution of such a successful cooperative movement. And I tell you, having gained so much of experience, I think this is a very good development model for our country because it is neither corporate nor government. And it is people's own kind of initiative where they have a scope to participate. And this is a potentially a very useful way of developing our nation. And it has all materialized because of the leadership provided by Kaka. He always worked in a democratic way and treated his colleagues with a lot of respect. He may have had his opinions, but he was very democratic. As a medical student, I had also realized the need for community participation and decentralized and democratic approach for various health programs to succeed. And this is the biggest limitation that we are facing. And therefore, a cooperative like us has a role to play in improving the health status of our country. All this was possible in Tribhuvandas Foundation. However, his leadership was not without any purpose, and that purpose was not self-directed. As somebody mentioned, he hated publicity. He never aspired to any positions or any post. He started with AMUL Cooperative and remained with the cooperative forever. He also helped many educational and social institutions and also developed a few institutions in the wake of development of AMUL Cooperative. However, his lifetime mission was farmers' welfare. He was very pragmatic and very, sensible enough to understand the role that professionals can play in his mission. In Dr. Kurien's words, Tribhuvandas instinctively recognized the value of professionals, and from the very first day, he placed his trust in me without reservation. He brought out the best in me with his inspiration and direction, and convinced me that there was a special satisfaction in working as an employee of India's backbone, the farmers. His judgment of farmers was always better than mine. Please remember, these are the words from the man who ushered in a revolution. So his judgment of farmers always remained better than mine. And whenever I disagreed with him on crucial issues, I was ultimately proved wrong. He was a real leader and a true builder who built with commitment, purpose, and unimpeachable integrity. It is also pertinent to note that he always remained concerned with farmers' problems throughout his life. When he realized that health of women and children in the same villages was not in good shape. In spite of this success of AMUL, he decided to do something about it. And we are talking about integrated and diversified approaches nowadays. So this is one example how one thing led to the other. This was the genesis of Tribhuvandas Foundation, a cooperative-linked human healthcare program focused on health of mothers and children. Learning from AMUL experience, TF is designed as a community-based primary healthcare program with greater emphasis on maternal and child health. Now, these are the kind of crucial issues which the health professionals have realized that they are most important. Building hospitals will not lead to improvement in health. Just as we are talking about malnutrition, malnutrition cannot be, tackled in the hospital premises. We need a very, grassroots kind of community-based approach to address these kind of issues. And if we provide good primary health care, it will take care of majority of the health problems of our community. And this is what he had realized in those days. And therefore, the program called Tribhuvandas Foundation is designed like that. Let me add that during the current pandemic, need for more such primary healthcare community-based programs has been realized by many more and more. TF became operational in 1979. Tribhuvan Kaka was instrumental in initiating and supporting the early efforts by Dr. Uma Vyas, medical doctor, and her husband, Mr. Anand Vyas, a nutritionist, the first professional couple appointed in TF. Please remember, for doctors getting into this kind of work was out of consideration because medical profession is a different ball game. And here's a couple which committed to such difficult job. They had migrated from UK with 2 small children to start the TF activities. It was very important to make them feel secure and comfortable. And that is where the role of a person like Tribhuvandas comes in. Kaka in many ways provided very crucial initial help and support. He helped in arranging village visits. There was no transport. He also helped them in getting some separate office space. These are small little things, nitty-gritty, which any professional would require to settle and work comfortably, but there was nothing in the beginning. So Kaka came forward. He gave a completely free hand in running the health program, and he treated Dr. Uma Vyas like his daughter, got the 2 kids school admissions, and helped them rent a reasonable house to stay. For a young couple who had migrated from UK with young kids to take up such a challenging job, this initial support was very, very crucial. And this is where Tribhuvan Kaka is the real leader. When I joined TF in 1984 as senior medical officer, I had very little idea about the milk cooperatives. Having studied in Mumbai, I also did not know much about Kaka and Dr. Kurien. My senior, the then CEO, Dr. Uma Vyas, introduced me to both of them soon after my induction. They welcomed me with warmth and made me feel very comfortable. I also had considerable freedom in taking my decisions as long as they were in the interest of the organization. This was and is still the norm in TF. See how the legacy is still alive. Tribhuvan Kaka was in his 80s at that time. He was short of hearing and had to read with a magnifying glass. However, his mental faculties were very sharp. He kept a track of day-to-day functioning in TF. He was one of the trustees of TF and spent adequate time on matters related to routine activities till he was satisfied that everything was going on as it should be. He would draw upon his vast experience and give useful tips to all of us, which are still guiding us. There are a number of instances where his concern for improving the administration, economizing the use of resources, his punctuality, his concern for saving paper, and so on, is amply reflected. In those days, to take care of a large number of children who were undernourished, particularly under 5 children, TF was running a nutrition rehabilitation center, NRC. Our minister referred to the problem of undernutrition in the beginning in his opening remark. But TF was running a nutrition rehabilitation center in those days, particularly for those children where we require to provide a center-based supervised care. Today, the government has started having many NRCs, but in those days, ours was the NRC, which was one of the very few in the country in those days. Kaka would make it a point to find out if the mothers who came to this center for treatment of their undernourished kids were satisfied with the arrangements and that they had learned enough about childcare and nutrition before going home. A very important thing, because to see that they don't become undernourished again, it was very important to provide nutrition and health education regarding the childcare to all the mothers. And unless we do this, unless we improve awareness, educate mothers, this problem is not going to be solved. So this point Kaka understood very well, and because of his concern, we remain focused on this aspect. Everybody in the NRC was involved in improving maternal awareness about nutrition and health. Kaka accepted modern science and technology as much as necessary for the rural development, but at the same time, he was very particular about our culture. He wore traditional khadi clothes, preferred to communicate in mother tongue, Gujarati. In fact, I would have preferred to follow the same tradition today, but keeping larger audience in mind, I am sticking to a language for the sake of communication. He would not mind using rustic dialect, talking to villagers if required. So there are some very humorous instances that come to my mind. But anyway, important thing is to remember that he was a good communicator also. So if he required to talk in rustic dialect, he would do it unhesitatingly. So he also expected TF workers to respect mother tongue. In true sense, therefore, he followed the Gandhian principles, for which we all, the TF staff and also the government officers, admire him. Dr. Kurien has talked about Kaka's integrity. Of course, this is reflected in all the major dealings in his lifetime. The seed money to start Tribhuvandas Foundation came from the purse which he received from the milk producers, as mentioned by the minister. But let me also add that to this, he also added the amount he received as a part of Lemon Maxis Award. So he kept all this money aside and ultimately gave this to Dr. Kurien and said, please start something to improve the health of women and children. These are all very well-known examples, but let me give you some relatively trivial example, which to my mind reflects the true character of a person. During his lifetime, during his tenure as chairman of AMUL, Tribhuvan Kaka always spent his personal money to treat the visitors who came to his office to meet him. He never, used organizational money to treat the visitors who had come to his office in AMUL. He firmly believed that AMUL belonged to milk producers and not to him. and therefore he never liked even such expenses at the milk producer's cost. Friends, today we are living in the day of hospitality funds and certain privileges for people in high positions in organization. Kaka was always clear about the organizational goals throughout his life. He believed in minimizing unnecessary expenditure, everything to improve the health of milk producers and farmers. In 1993, at the age of 90, I had a very interesting experience with him. TF had decided to introduce disposable delivery kits in the program. In those days, majority of the deliveries, women were delivering at home, 70% at least, because the trend of delivery, hospital delivery was not there in those days. And even in Kheda district, which was considered relatively better developed, hospital deliveries were much more common, 70% according to our data in those days. So something was required to be done because most of these deliveries were not hygienic. So TF decided to prepare a disposable kit which was pre-sterilized and use it for delivering women at home. Now, when Kaka came to know about this, he was not happy because he wanted all the deliveries to take place in the facility, in the hospital. This was not possible in those days. And this matter was discussed in TF board meeting. And he questioned our CEO, Dr. Uma Vyas, on this matter. He wanted to know the details, how and when it could be done. So Uma Vyas handed over the matter to me because I was in charge of the health program. And based on my analysis, this decision was being taken. I prepared a detailed note about this issue and handed over this note to Tribhuvan Kaka. He read word by word at the age of 90, asked me a lot of questions, and once he was convinced, he accepted my decision. And even when he understood, he even loaded my decision. And finally, we introduced the disposable delivery kits. Now, this became so popular that the government of Gujarat came to know about this. And later on, the entire state was provided the delivery kits provided by prepared in the TF premises. So, when this happened, TF got a lot of recognition, but unfortunately, Kaka, who did not live to see the kind of satisfaction and the honor this brought to the organization. But I remember this instance because even at that age, he was still very alert, and I admire him for his tenacity and concern, even at the age of 90. And this example reflects his soul, the kind of inner person that he was. If we consider Dr. Kurien the brain behind the White Revolution, then I would say Kaka may be aptly described as the soul, Atman. If he was Buddhi, Kaka was Atman. Theirs was a truly synergistic partnership which provided dynamic force to the cooperatives to succeed. Friends, the time has come for us to realize the importance of this great man's lifelong, tireless efforts and commitment to improve the lives of marginal farmers. My own grandfather was also born in 1903, the year when Tribhuvan Kaka was also born. He was my grandfather by blood relation, and Kaka, today I say, my grandfather by karmic relation. It gives me a lot of pride and pleasure to have worked at least for about 10 years under his leadership. It will be important to learn from their lives and follow what they tried to do rather than idol worshipping them. This is the most correct way of, remembering them and offering them tribute. I would conclude by quoting Uma Shankar Joshi, a Gujarati poet of eminence from Gandhian era. He has written a small poem in English, and that was translated by himself only. A quote: "From birth to death, the mortals roam. From birth to death, the mortals roam. I seek the way from death to birth." And his translation goes, "Sau martyane vamahu janmati mrityu yavat." હું મૃત્યુથી જન્મનો નવપંથ શોધું. Obviously, Tribhuvan Kaka did not roam. He is somewhere within us. Let us explore him, invent him. Namaste.
Thank you so much. You just took us to the time, and we are very much inspired to learn so many things about him through you. And really, your soul is now merged with Tribhuvan Kaka, and all of us, we are all feeling like that. And I'm feeling sorry that I confused a little bit earlier to speak in Gujarati or English or Hindi, but because many students from IRMA are also listening to that, I thought let us be talk in English, and thank you very much for that. Now, I will request Shri Minesh Shah, the Chairman of National Dairy Development Board. I feel very proud to say that Minesh Pai is the graduate from SMC College of Dairy Science, where I graduated, and he also did postgraduate from IRMA, where I am working at present. So, उससे अच्छा कोई मौका नहीं हो सकता कि मेरे को खुशी हो. And he is the best professional in dairying in the country now, and he is in the top as a chairman of NDDP. And his services are being recognized all over the country now, and the excellent work which is doing now in Northeast, which we have recently seen with the minister, and many other things. So I don't know words to introduce him, but his thoughts and his works speaks about him. So I now request Shri Minesh Pai to give his address. Shri Minesh Pai, please.
Thank you. आदरणीय केंद्रीय मत्स्य पालन, पशुपालन और डेयरी मंत्री श्री परसोत्तम रूपाला जी, माननीय सांसद श्री मितेश भाई पटेल जी, हमारे अमूल डेयरी के चेयरमैन श्री राम सिंह परमार जी, डॉक्टर R.S. सोडी, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर ऑफ GCMMF, डॉक्टर राजौरिया, प्रेसिडेंट IDA, माय फ्रेंड अमित, MD of अमूल डेयरी, डॉक्टर निखिल करोड, CEO of Tribhuvandas Foundation, Dr. Manjula Patel, former professor of SP University, Shri Emil Patel ji, grandson of Tribhuvan Kaka. I think we are very happy that he is part of this webinar. Dr. Prajapati, chairman of Dr. Verghese Kurien Center of Excellence, Professor Umakant Das ji, director IRMA, or I may have missed certain names, but इस वेबिनार में फिजिकली और वर्चुअली जो भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स जुड़े हैं, आई थिंक मेरे लिए भी बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है. सो बिटवीन गुजराती, हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश, आई विल चूज हिंदी, आई थिंक, सो दैट एवरीबडी कैन अंडरस्टैंड. एंड आज मैं इस वर्गीस कुरियन सेंटर ऑफ एक्सेलेंस और IDA गुजरात द्वारा जो ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट वेबिनार जो हो रहा है, उसमें मैं पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा हूँ. और उसमें इंडियन डेयरी कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट के जो रियल आर्किटेक्ट है, आई थिंक हम सब ने अभी तक वही देखा, एक ट्रू लीजेंड, एक ट्रू फार्मर्स लीडर श्री त्रिभुवनदास काका जी के बारे में हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं. आई थिंक ये कहना गलत नहीं होगा कि काका, त्रिभुवन काका नहीं होते तो शायद आज ना अमूल होता, उसने अमूल की मूवमेंट ने जन्म नहीं लिया होता, और एक देश में आज जो एक डेयरी सेक्टर का एक स्ट्रक्चर बना है या इकोसिस्टम बना है, वो शायद कुछ अलग ही होता. It was he, I think, who saw the immense potentialities of cooperation and cooperatives way back in 1946, I think, before we became independent country. And he also nurtured it selflessly. And today we know that, how right he was in knowing the power of farmers movement from the beginning. आज अगर काका को हम अगर याद करते हैं, उन्होंने देश में हमारे श्वेत क्रांति के जनक डॉक्टर कुरियन की प्रतिभा को पहचाना और उन्हें डेयरी कोऑपरेटिव को प्रोफेशनली चलाने के लिए एक जिम्मेदारी भी दी और उनको पूरा एम्पावर भी किया. और अमूल की सफलता के पीछे अगर हम मेन रीजन को देखते हैं, तो काका ने मिल्क यूनियन के मैनेजमेंट के लिए डॉक्टर कुरियन और डॉक्टर डल्लाया, एक उनके लिए जो नेसेसरी ऑटोनॉमी चाहिए और सपोर्ट चाहिए, वो बिना किसी अनवांटेड इंटरफियरेंस के वो दोनों को उन्होंने प्रदान किया. त्रिभुवन काका जैसा हम सब जानते हैं, एक खुद किसान थे और उनको ये बखूबी पता था कि कौन से इंटरवेंशन से किसानों का बेहतर ख्याल रखा जा सकता है. और दूसरा, उन्होंने किसानों को डेयरिंग को प्रेरित करने के लिए और उनको एक कोऑपरेटिव फॉर्म में संगठित करने के लिए भी बहुत ही उम्दा भूमिका निभाई. करेज, डिटर्मिनेशन, native persistence, I think they were all cherished qualities, as Dr. Nikhil had very aptly highlighted. And he commanded a huge respect for all these qualities which he possessed. कोऑपरेटिव एंटरप्राइज की अगर आज हम सफलता देखते हैं, तो इसका एक मूल मंत्र, एक जो हम सब आई थिंक उसमें एग्री करेंगे, वो है striking a balance between board and executive functions. I think Kaka ne ek, he set an example for all the cooperative leadership by keeping himself within the legitimate role. That is, किसानों को प्रेरित करना और सहकारिता का जो आंदोलन चालू हुआ था उसको और कैसे मजबूत करें. And while all the day-to-day business and the other things, he just left it to the dairy professionals. और इसका एक बहुत ही छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल, आई थिंक कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स हमने ऑलरेडी सुने हैं. दूध से जब पाउडर को बनाने की एक टेक्नोलॉजी प्राप्त करने के लिए नेगोशिएशन हो रहा था, और उस टाइम में क्योंकि डॉक्टर कुरियन आई थिंक न्यूजीलैंड में थे और डॉक्टर डलाया जो का एक मीटिंग हुआ उस टाइम के बॉम्बे के जो मिल्क कमिश्नर थे मिस्टर खीरोडी, उससे वो नेगोशिएशन कर रहे थे. तो एज वी ऑल नो, डलाया जी एक बहुत ही टफ नेगोशिएटर थे और वो मिस्टर खीरोडी को अच्छा नहीं लगा कि ये ज्यादा मेरे से नेगोशिएट करने जा रहे हैं. तो उन्होंने शायद काका से शिकायत की कि इट इज वेरी इजी टू टैकल द प्रॉब्लम विथ डॉक्टर कुरियन, बट इट्स वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू टैकल इट विथ डॉक्टर डलाया. बट प्रोजेक्ट बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट था, काका को पता था कि इसका कितना इंपॉर्टेंस है, और शायद डॉक्टर कुरियन थे ही नहीं इंडिया में, बट काका ने इस प्रोसेस में बिल्कुल दखलंदाजी करने से मना कर दिया. उन्होंने बहुत क्लियर किया कि दिस इज ए टेक्निकल मैटर एंड टेक्निकल मैटर इज बेस्ट टू बी हैंडल्ड बाय द टेक्नोलॉजिस्ट, नॉट बाय मी. तो आज हम अगर देखते हैं कि केरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट की जो अर्थव्यवस्था है, यहाँ की जो समस्याएं थी उस टाइम में, वो बहुत ही अच्छी तरह वाकिफ थे. एक पॉलिटिकल पोजीशन के अलावा वो आनंद तालुका कोऑपरेटिव परचेज एंड सेल यूनियन था, आनंद तालुका एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट मार्केट कमेटी थी, और ऐसी कई सारी इंस्टीट्यूट के भी चेयरमैन रह चुके थे. एक राज्यसभा के मेंबर भी थे वो गुजरात से. और इतना सारा पॉलिटिकल एक्टिव होने के बावजूद उन्होंने जो अपना एक पॉलिटिकल रोल जो होता है वो, और एक अमूल का चेयरमैनशिप है, वो दोनों को बहुत ही अलग अलग तरीके से वो दोनों जिम्मेदारियों को निभाया. अभी जैसे डॉक्टर निखिल ने बताया कि इवन विजिटर्स का खर्चा जो उनके पर्सनल विजिटर होते थे वो अपने खुद के पैसे से यूनियन में उठाते थे। तो और वो हर एक किसान को जानते थे, वो फ्रीली उनके पास सारे किसान आते थे उनको सलाह लेने के लिए, उनका मार्गदर्शन के लिए। और यदि कोई गांव अगर अमूल ने कुछ फंड्स यूज करके उसमें कोई स्कूल बनाया या कोई पब्लिक इंस्टीट्यूशन बनाया किसानों की मदद के लिए, तो किसान ऑलवेज बोलते थे कि काका हम आपका नाम इसमें यूज करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन वो कभी भी उन्होंने एग्री नहीं किया। उसने बोला कि नहीं, मेरा नाम ये इंस्टीट्यूशन के लिए नहीं दे सकते हैं। ही वॉज very humanly personified and never claim any credit. I think we have seen earlier also, Dr. Nikhil, no personal credit for the success of Kera Union or for the success of even AMUL, what we have seen today. And he was very clear. He was, I think, often saying that success is not due to me. It's due to the organization, village societies, and the farmers, and also their faith in me. So I can't take any credit, for the success which we have got. काका, I think उनका जो कोऑपरेटिव से वो जुड़े, I don't think it was a इत्तेफाक. ऐसा नहीं था कि वो सडनली इसमें आ गए थे, बल्कि उन्होंने एक अपनी अर्ली लाइफ से उनको पता चल गया था कि एक शुरू से ही एक इंटेंस उनका जो नेशनलिस्टिक आइडिया था, जो गांधीयन फिलोसॉफी था, तो उनको शुरू से ही जो लीडरशिप लेना है वो पता था, और जिससे वो आई थिंक समाज से जुड़ के एक कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट जो उन्होंने चालू किया उसको एक नए सिरे से नया आयाम दे सके। और कुछ आई थिंक जो मैं भी उनकी जो जीवन के घटनाएं हैं उसमें मैं जानता हूँ, कुछ मैं शेयर करूंगा। आई थिंक 1918-19 में अपना देश का जो स्वतंत्र संग्राम चल रहा था, तो त्रिभुवन काका ने राउलेट एक्ट के विरोध में अपने कुछ और स्टूडेंट्स, उस टाइम में वो पढ़ रहे थे, तो साथ मिलके सरकारी डेयरी विरोध में एक धरना करने का निर्णय लिया था, वे बैक इन 1919 एंड धरना किया उन्होंने। उससे कुछ तो नहीं निकला, परंतु उनके जो कुछ साथ में जो साथी मित्रों थे उनको गिरफ्तार करा गया, और बाद में ये डिसाइड किया कि हर हफ्ते कुछ गतिविधियों पर आपस में चर्चा करने के लिए हम बारी बारी से एक ऐसे तैयार करेंगे सारे स्टूडेंट्स। और काका ने जो उस टाइम में जो निबंध चुना वो कोऑपरेटिव पर आधारित था, कोऑपरेशन के ऊपर। और वहीं से उनको ये आई थिंक विचार निकला कि किसानों द्वारा दूध अगर गवर्नमेंट डेयरी को ना बेचे, और ब्रिटिश आर्मी को जो उस टाइम में जो बटर का उत्पादन करती थी, एक अगर एजिटेशन प्लान किया जाए, एंड दैट वाज प्लान्ड टू persuade farmers' wives not to cooperate with this British army in selling milk for consumption, going to the British army. So I think इस आंदोलन की शुरुआत डेयरी में दूध नहीं देने जा रही एक महिला किसान ने किया, और दूध का मूल्य आई थिंक उस टाइम में खाली 1 रुपया होता था, 1 लीटर का 1 रुपया। और उस महिला को दूध के मूल्यन का जो भुगतान था वो किया गया, और दूध को जमीन पर गिरने के लिए बोल दिया कि आप ये दूध को गिरा दो, और एक यूनिक मूवमेंट चालू हुआ। उनको वो शायद उनके पास इतना उस टाइम में पैसा नहीं था कि उसको वो जारी रखे कंटिन्यूअस मोड में, लेकिन वो स्टूडेंट्स और जो किसानों की पत्नियों का जब हमने बात किया कि अपना दूध आपको उनको नहीं बेचना है और उससे पैसा नहीं मिलेगा तो कोई हर्जा नहीं है, तो काका के अनुसार ये आई थिंक उनकी पहली एक ऐसी घटना थी जब उनको पता चला कि अगर हमारा आपसी सहयोग हो और कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट हो, हम सब सहकार से मिलकर अगर हम लोगों को समझाएं कि दूध की बिक्री का बहिष्कार करने से हमें क्या एडवांटेज मिलेगा, तो उसमें आई थिंक एक बहुत बड़ा मूवमेंट आगे जाके हो सकता है। और यही चीज फिर जब आगे 1946 में हम जब सब जानते हैं, जब 15 दिनों तक जब दूध की बिक्री का जो मिल्क स्ट्राइक किया गया, और उसी से शायद सरकार को उस टाइम में सरेंडर करना पड़ा, और उसमें से जाके एक बहुत अच्छा मूवमेंट जो आज हम देख रहे हैं अमूल का, वो चालू हुआ. Believe me, it's very very difficult, easier said than done. उस टाइम में जब हमारा कंट्री इंडिपेंडेंट भी नहीं हुआ था. So, you consider the small traders who was always opposed to this idea, because if cooperative dealt directly with the consumers, they knew their business and profits would be affected. At the first, all these small traders, they tried to even dissuade Tribhuvandas ji from his plan to set up village cooperative. उन्होंने शायद उनको ये भी बात किया कि दूध की जो कारोबार की जो इंट्रिकसीज हैं, दूध का बिजनेस जैसे चलाया जा सकता है, तो आपको कोई उसके बारे में नॉलेज नहीं है, आप कभी उसमें सफल नहीं हो पाएंगे. और जब असफल हो जाएंगे तो उन्होंने कुछ सारी अफवाहें भी उन्होंने बाद में फैलाई कि काका को तो अपना पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट है और वो करने के लिए वो ये कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट को आगे करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. लेकिन ये सब के बावजूद काका का एक ही जवाब होता था कि जब तक हम कम से कम एक गांव में सहकारी समिति गठित करके बताएंगे नहीं, तब तक बाकी किसान नहीं मानेंगे कि हमने कुछ हासिल किया है. और ये लक्ष्य को हासिल जब तक नहीं होगा, मैं तो रुकने वाला नहीं. आई थिंक हमने देखा इसी के आगे बढ़ते हुए हार्डगुड में सबसे पहले और फिर गोपालपुरा में सहकारी सोसाइटी की स्थापना की गई. दूध का खरीद करना, उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट करना, उसका मार्केटिंग करना, आई थिंक वी कैन ऑल अंडरस्टैंड कितनी चैलेंजेस उस टाइम में होती थी. लेकिन कोऑपरेटिव का विचार एक जो उन्होंने बहुत पहले सोचा था, वो शायद अंकुरित हो गया था. और इम्पोर्टेंटली इट वाज लेड डाउन राइट फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग. देयर वुड बी नो डिस्टिंक्शन बिटवीन द पीपल ऑफ डिफरेंट कास्ट, क्रीड और कम्युनिटी. आई थिंक उस टाइम में वो सोचा गया. एंड as Dr. Kurien, I think, many times he told that it is possible to produce Kuriens, but there is no college in the world to produce Tribhuvandas ji. I think he also, further told that give me one Tribhuvandas ji and you will get many Kurien. So their respect for each other, I think it was very, very touching. I remember once Dr. Kurien was asked whether there was anybody in particular who inspired him, and his response, Tribhuvandas Patel ji, it was he who made AMUL, not me, and I was only helping him. He made me whatever I am today, and don't get that wrong. I was only instrument. The whole thing was the vision of Kaka. It was also his work. And he further told that I was a foreigner, a professional manager, and it was he who had the trust of farmers. And if I had tried to do something on my own, I would not have been able to. Who was I? And I merely provided the managerial component. And please note that I came from Kerala, and Dalaya also claims to be Yadav from UP, and it was the farmers of Gujarat who kept both of us. So I would finally say that people judge leaders not by their intentions or the words they speak, but I think it is how they behave and contribute in the public life. और ये मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि लीडर्स को बस उनके इंटेंशंस या वर्ड से नहीं, बल्कि हम इस बात से जज करते हैं कि वो कितना उन्होंने पब्लिक लाइफ में कंट्रीब्यूट किया. एंड इट इज द नोबिलिटी ऑफ कॉजेस एंड आल्सो द स्पिरिट ऑफ सर्विस दैट ब्रिंग्स आउट बेस्ट इन अ मैन. एंड आई थिंक इन दिस रिगार्ड काका वाज अ लीडर हु wielded power and commanded so much respect through the strength of his ideals and the example of his service to the fellow men. आज हम I think we all have to imbibe his values. उनके जो आदर्श थे, उनको हमारी आवश्यकता है कि हम जो मन, वचन और कर्म तीनों से हम अपने देश में किसानों की जो डेयरी कोऑपरेटिव्स को हैं, उसको और कैसे आगे ला जा सके। और as I think everyone told, I also say that will be a एक सच्ची श्रद्धांजलि होगी काका के लिए। और लास्ट में जो 2 पॉइंट आई थिंक जो आदरणीय मंत्री श्री ने हमें बताया आज, एक फाइटिंग द माल न्यूट्रिशन, मैं बताना चाहूंगा आई थिंक अमूल और एनडीडीबी और जीसीएमएम हम सब ने मिलकर एक फाउंडेशन फॉर न्यूट्रिशन बनाया है और कुछ एक्टिविटीज हमने चालू की है। आई थिंक इट इज अ टाइम वी विल आल्सो डिस्कस विद द फाउंडेशन एंड डिसाइड हाउ वी कैन टेक दिस फॉरवर्ड। एंड आई आल्सो वेलकम द सजेशन ऑफ आवर ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर फॉर द need of a national level institute for carrying the dairy science activities, dairy science education. And there also we have already started some movement, some concepts have been already worked out. And I am sure that with the assurance from the Government of India, from the Honorable Minister himself, I think we will be able to form such an institute with the support of everyone. I thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. We are very happy to hear some anecdotes from Tribhuvandas Patel, and we are all enlightened. I had just requested Emil Bhai to come earlier, but if it is not a problem because it's too late for him, Emil Bhai, whether it will work if you go as per schedule?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine. Just go as per schedule.
Okay. Then I will request Dr. R.S. Sodhi sir, the Managing Director of GCMF Limited, to give address all of us, and probably he has worked closer to Tribhuvan Kaka himself also. And so he'll be able to throw some more light on his works and deeds and what we can learn from his life. So Sodhi sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Prajapati ji. First of all, I'd like to thank the IRMA and Indian Dairy Association for organizing this webinar on Bhisham Pitama of Indian dairy or cooperative sector. आदरणीय पशुपालन मंत्री श्री पुरुषोत्तम रूपाला जी, श्री मितेश पटेल एमपी साहब, हमारे आदरणीय चेयरमैन अमूल डेयरी के श्री राम सिंह भाई परमार साहब, चेयरमैन नेशनल डेयरी डेवलपमेंट बोर्ड श्री मिनेश शाह जी, श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल के ग्रैंडसन श्री एमएल पटेल जी, एमडी अमूल डेयरी श्री अमित व्यास जी, और त्रिभुवनदास पटेल फाउंडेशन से डॉक्टर निखिल खारोड, क्योंकि आफ्टर हिज रिटायरमेंट फ्रॉम अमूल डेयरी त्रिभुवनदास पटेल जी ने अपना पूरा बाकी का जीवन त्रिभुवनदास फाउंडेशन के प्रोमाइसिस में बिताया। डॉक्टर जीएस रजोरिया जी, डॉक्टर मंजुला पटेल जी, डायरेक्टर इरमा डॉक्टर उमाकांत दास जी, डॉक्टर जेबी प्रजापति जी, और बाकी जो डेयरी उद्योग के कोऑपरेटिव उद्योग से जुड़े लोग जो आज इस वेबिनार से डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली थ्रू यूट्यूब जुड़े हुए हैं। आई एम सॉरी, मैं बीच में जाना पड़ा, मैं साबर डेयरी में बैठा हूँ हमारी बोर्ड मीटिंग थी तो मैं बीच में जाकर बोर्ड मीटिंग अटेंड करके वापस आ गया। शुरू में कुछ सुना, बीच में आई मिस्ड इट, और मिनेश शाह जी का थोड़ा सा सुना मैंने। मैं 2-3 चीजों के बारे में बताऊंगा। सबसे पहले तो देखिए, मेरा जो पर्सनल इंटरेक्शन श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल जी से हुआ वो 1980 में हुआ, क्योंकि मुझे याद है जब हमारा इरमा में एडमिशन हुआ, वहां पे जब ज्वाइन करते हैं तो अभी भी एक ट्रेडिशन है कि हाई टी होती है शाम को, और उस हाई टी में डॉक्टर वर्गीस कुरियन के साथ श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल जी आए, क्योंकि हमने उनको देखा। देखिए, आदमी के बारे में अब जब उसके काम के बारे में सुनते हैं, उस व्यक्ति के व्यक्तित्व के मतलब, तो आपके दिमाग में उसके एक चेहरा बन जाता है। पर जब हम वो डॉक्टर कुरियन के साथ इरमा के हाईटी में आए तो हम तो पूरा देख के भुचक्के से हो गए। एकदम सिंपल सीधा साधा मानस, सफेद कपड़े पहने हुए, टोपी पहने हुए, धोती पहने आया। हमने कहा ये थे चेयरमैन अमूल, जिन्होंने अमूल बनाया, जिसने अमूल ने आनंद को इनाम नहीं दिया, गुजरात को इनाम नहीं दिया, भारत को पूरे विश्व में नाम दे दिया कि डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट क्या होता है, छोटे लोगों को कैसे आप रोजगार प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं बिना किसी सब्सिडी के। उस वक्त पहली बार मिले उन्होंने, हर IRMA में हर जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स थे सबसे मिले, सबसे बात की, और उसके बाद हमारा जो इंटरेक्शन होता था, कभी भी कोई फंक्शन आते थे और डॉक्टर कुरियन तो उनकी हमेशा बात करते ही थे, तो दिन ब दिन उनके प्रति आदर और सत्कार बढ़ता है, क्योंकि जब भी डॉक्टर कुरियन की बात करेंगे त्रिभुवनदास पटेल पे तो घूम फिर पे आ ही जाएंगे। तो फॉर्चुनेटली IRMA के बाद मुझे अमूल में नौकरी मिली, मैं जयपुर में रहा, पर फिर जब मैं अहमदाबाद में 1984 में मेरी ट्रांसफर हो गई और हमारा ऑफिस कांकरिया में था, उस वक्त श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल के साथ हमारा काफी इंटरेक्शन होता था, क्योंकि वो जब आते थे अहमदाबाद, उनको कोई ट्रेन वगैरह पकड़नी होती थी तो हमारे कांकरिया ऑफिस में आते थे, हम उनको छोड़ने जाते थे। वो आएंगे, चुपचाप बैठे रहेंगे और बोलेंगे आप अपना काम करो, वो बैठ के चुपचाप वेट करेंगे। मुझे अभी भी याद है, बाद में जब मैं कभी एक दो बार अमूल में गया, क्योंकि अमूल के चेयरमैन से तो निकल गए थे, वो छोड़ दिया था उन्होंने 71 में, पर वो अमूल में भी जब आते थे, जो MD के ऑफिस के बाहर एक सोफा है, उसी पे बैठे रहते थे कि ना तो MD को डिस्टर्ब किया, ना जिस किसी को भी मिलना होता तो बोलते थे PA को, MD के, तो उसको जरा बुला दो, मुझे जो भी छोटा मोटा उनका काम होता था या बात करनी थी। नेचुरली वो थोड़ा ऊंचा सुनते तो मुंह ले जाके, कान ले जाके बात करते। ऐसे ही जब फेडरेशन में भी आएंगे, नीचे रिसेप्शन पे बैठे रहेंगे, और ताकि कोई प्रोफेशनल का काम में डिस्टर्बेंस ना हो। तो आई थिंक अभी मैं आऊंगा, देखिए अब डॉक्टर श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल के आपने बहुत लोगों ने एनेक्डोट्स बताए क्या, पर मेरे ख्याल से देखिए डॉक्टर त्रिभुवनदास जी का हर दिन आप देखिए, उन लोगों, उनका जो वे ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस बोलिए, प्रोफेशनल को इंडिपेंडेंस दे दिए, सेल्फलेसनेस की बात कर दिन पर दिन बढ़ती जा रही है। क्यों? देखिए हमारे से लोग पूछते हैं कि अमूल 75 साल पुरानी है, आपकी सक्सेस के कारण क्या है, व्हाट इज द रीजन, हाउ कैन यू कैन मेक एजलेस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन? क्योंकि 75 साल पुरानी आप अगर चाहें भारत में कंपनी या ब्रांड आप फिंगर टिप्स पे गिन सकते हैं, फिंगर टिप्स से गिन, पर उसमें भी आपको बोला जाए कोई ऐसा कंपनी बताइए जो सिर्फ 75 साल से एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं कर रही, पर दिन बर दिन उसकी वृद्धि दर बढ़ती जा रही है, हर डिकेड की ग्रोथ रेट पिछले डिकेड से ज्यादा है। और उसका कारण क्या है? तो मैं कहता हूं कि उसका एक ही कारण है, वो क्या है? प्रोफेशनल DNA ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। श्री अमिल पटेल जी हैं, उनके ग्रैंडसन हैं, उनके पास उनका बायोलॉजिकल DNA है, ठीक है, पर हम लोग जो इस अमूल में काम करते हैं, हमारे पास प्रोफेशनल DNA है। और वो प्रोफेशनल DNA कौन बनाता है? प्रोफेशनल DNA किसी भी संस्था का उसके जो फाउंडर होते हैं वो बनाते हैं। तो त्रिभुवनदास पटेल, डॉक्टर वर्गीस कुरियन ने मिलकर जो अमूल का प्रोफेशनल DNA बनाया, जो लीडरशिप, उसके कारण अमूल आज जो विश्व में और भारत में दिन ब दिन प्रगति करता जा रहा है, और साली नंबर 1 पे नहीं है, उसकी ऊंचाई भी बढ़ती जा रही है। और ये सब हुआ हमारी लीडरशिप, मैं कहता हूं सेल्फलेस डेडिकेटेड पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप, श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल जो थे, एंड प्रोफेशनल लीडरशिप डॉक्टर वर्गीस कुरियन ने। और मेरे से पहले भी वक्ताओं ने बोला कि डॉक्टर कुरियन हर जगह ये बोलते थे कि भी मैं जो हूं वो त्रिभुवनदास पटेल की वजह से हूं। देखिए आपको बहुत कम एग्जाम्पल मिलेंगे जिसमें कोई पॉलिटिकल लीडर, कोई भी प्राप्ति हो, कोई भी अचीवमेंट हो, अपने को ना आगे करके अपने नीचे वाले प्रोफेशनल्स को आगे करे। त्रिभुवनदास पटेल ने कोई भी प्रसिद्धि, कोई भी ख्याति आप ना लेके डॉक्टर वर्गीस कुरियन का नाम, अभी मिनेश जी बोल रहे थे कि भी डॉक्टर कुरियन कहते थे कि भी आपको कुरियन तो बहुत मिल जाएंगे। मैं ये इंसिडेंट पढ़ रहा था, देखिए आई डोंट नो आप में से कितने लोगों ने त्रिभुवनदास पटेल जी की ये बड़े जो लोक कल्याण त्रिभुवनदास पटेल गंगोत्री ये बुक, क्योंकि जब डॉक्टर प्रजापति में इन्विटेशन मैंने पढ़ना शुरू किया दोबारा, तो जब नई नई आई थी बहुत साल पहले, 20-25 साल तक पहले पढ़ी थी, तो फिर पढ़ा, तो मैंने आते ही रास्ते में बोला अपने बंदों को ये तो आज के पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स और प्रोफेशनल लीडर्स को ये बुक पढ़नी चाहिए। व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ सेल्फलेस डेडिकेशन, व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ सेक्रीफाइस, व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ attracting, retaining, motivating and protecting professionals, आपको इस बुक में से मिलेगा। तो मैंने तो आते ही बोला कि पहले तो इसकी अंग्रेजी में इसका अनुवाद करके लेट अस गिव इट बुक्स ऑल ओवर, एंड गुजराती का जितने भी हमारे कोऑपरेटिव लीडर्स हैं उनको दी जाए। अभी देखिए बहुत से इंसिडेंट हैं डॉक्टर कुरियन के जो कि आपको भी मालूम है और सबको मालूम है। देखिए अगर आप बात की जाए सबसे पहले कि उनमें डॉक्टर त्रिभुवनदास पटेल जी में ये जो मैंने बोला ना डीएनए, ये कहां से आया? वो आया सरदार पटेल जी से। वो उनके भगत थे और उनकी मैटरिंग सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने की थी। उसमें बुक में लिखा है कि वो एक बार दिल्ली में, क्योंकि यहाँ पे उनका पॉलिटिकल सेटअप हो गया, तो दिल्ली में सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल को मिलने गए, उनसे पूछा कि मैं क्या करूं, तो सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने बोला देखिए आपको अगर लोक सेवा करनी है, लोक कल्याण का काम करना है, दिल्ली तो एक दरिया है, इसमें आप स्विम करने की या तैरने की कोशिश मत कीजिए, आप अपने क्षेत्र में जाइए, वहां के लोगों का ध्यान कीजिए, आप वहां रह के काम कीजिए और दूध और किसानों के साथ जो अन्याय हो रहा है उस पर काम कीजिए। इस प्रेरणा से त्रिभुवनदास पटेल ने अमूल कोऑपरेटिव बनाया और हमको मालूम है कि उसकी संरचना के लिए उनको कितनी, मतलब देखिए जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ सेल्फलेस देखिए, मतलब अब भैया पढ़ते हो तो सोच नहीं सकते ऐसा हो सकता है। मतलब उन दिनों जो गांव में जाके किसानों को समझाने के लिए या तो पैदल जाते थे या बस में जाते थे अपना पैसा खर्च करके। मुझे अच्छा जब वो चेयरमैन बन गए, देखिए चेयरमैन बन गए थे अमूल के, उस वक्त वो नडियाड लोकल बोर्ड में भी प्रमुख थे और वहां पे एक कार थी, तो उनको वहां पे भी जाना पड़ता था, अमूल डेयरी में भी आना पड़ता था। तो कोई भी आज का लीडर कहेगा ठीक है दोनों सस्ता है तो कार तो है ही है, नडियाड में से कार उठाई, आनंद में आए, अटेंड किया, शाम को वापस नडियाड चले गए। नहीं, वो नडियाड स्टेशन तक पैदल आते थे, नडियाड लोकल बोर्ड के ऑफिस से ट्रेन लेते थे, 3rd क्लास में बैठते थे, आनंद स्टेशन आके आनंद स्टेशन से पैदल अमूल डेयरी जाते थे। आजकल के कौन से पॉलिटिकल लीडर ऐसे कर सकते हैं? वो हमको कभी कभी, आज जो भी हम अमूल की बात करते हैं, ये जो एग्जाम्पल था ना कि भी कोरियन तो हजारों मिलेंगे या आप एक त्रिभुवनदास, ये पता कहां से शुरू हुआ? एक किस्सा कुर्सी की फिल्म थी, उसके प्रोड्यूसर थे अमृत नाटा। वो आनंद आए, सब देखा, बहुत देखे, बहुत इंप्रेसिव लगा, तो उन्होंने डॉक्टर कुरियन को बोला कि ऐसा कीजिए आप जैसलमेर में आइए, वहां पे एक ऐसा डेयरी बनाइए और हमारे किसानों को ऐसा ही कर। तो डॉक्टर कुरियन उस वक्त उनको बोला मैं तो आ जाऊंगा और आपको वहां जैसलमेर में भी कुरियन मिल जाएंगे, पर पहले आप त्रिभुवनदास पटेल को ढूंढिए वहां। तो वहां से फिर वो, जब मुझे याद है हम इरमा में थे, वहां पे भी वही एग्जांपल देते, क्योंकि उन्होंने जब अमूल इरमा बनाया गया तो बोला गया कि इट विल क्रिएट 100 कुरियंस, तो उस वक्त वही लेक्चर करते थे कि देखिए 100 कुरियंस तो इरमा बना देगा, पर त्रिभुवनदास पटेल बनाने वाला कोई इंस्टीट्यूट नहीं है। और वही आज के दिन बे दिन हम देख रहे हैं कि उसकी कमी हमारे को खलती जा रही है। डॉक्टर कुरियन त्रिभुवनदास पटेल की स्टोरी आप देखेंगे तो आपको लगेगा कि मतलब आप पढ़ते जाएंगे तो आपको लगेगा कि जो ये इनके जन्मदाता, ठीक है, उनके डॉक्टर कुरियन पैदा केरला में उनके पेरेंट्स नहीं, पर जो उनका प्रोफेशनल लाइफ का जो बर्थ दिया वो उन्होंने दिया है। और एक बात और, अंत में जब हम आज सब जो भी हमारे यहाँ आते हैं वो एक क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं कि आपकी कोऑपरेटिव है, आप यहाँ बोर्ड वाले हैं, वो तो सब पॉलिटिकल अलायंसेस वाले हैं तो वो तो किसी ना किसी आपके यहाँ डिसीजन मेकिंग में पार्टिसिपेट करते होंगे। तो हम उस वक्त श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल ने जो एक बात बोली थी वो अभी भी हमारे को याद है कि जो कोऑपरेटिव का बोर्ड रूम होता है ना, ये एक मंदिर की तरह है और आपकी जो भी पॉलिटिकल अलायंसेस हैं वो आप जैसे मंदिर में जाने से पहले जूते बाहर निकालते हैं, ऐसे ही आप अपनी सारी पॉलिटिकल अलायंसेस बोर्ड रूम से बाहर रख के फिर बोर्ड रूम में आके आप कोई भी अगर डिसीजन लेंगे तो संस्था के लिए, कोऑपरेटिव के लिए और खेडूत के भले के लिए होगा। तो अंत में मैं कहूंगा कि हमने कोई पिछले जन्म में हमने या हमारे माता पिता ने कोई बहुत अच्छे कार्य किए होंगे कि हमको एक ऐसी संस्था में अपना जीवन में काम करने का मिला जिसमें हमको ऐसा प्रोफेशनल डीए दिया जो कि आज हम अपने बाकी जो संस्था में कर्मचारियों को दे रहे हैं और उसकी वजह से आज अमूल दिन ब दिन प्रगति कर रहा है। और मैं चाहूंगा कि त्रिभुवनदास पटेल की जीवनी से, उनके कार्य से आज की पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप को बहुत कुछ सीखने की और उसको कार्यान्वित करने की जरूरत है। धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू। हमने आपके स्पीच से काफी चीजें सीखी और जो आज की यंगस्टर्स है, खास करके IRMA के स्टूडेंट्स को बहुत ही मजा आएगा बिकॉज दे विल बी एंजॉयिंग दिस एनेक्डोट्स जो आपने एक्सपीरियंस किया था 1980 में। और आपने जो त्रिभुवनदास काका की जो किताब बताई उसका एक छोटा सा इंग्लिश वर्जन तो डॉक्टर मंजुला मेटल ने बनाया, मगर वो जो ज्ञान गंगा नी गंगोत्री उसको अगर ट्रांसलेट किया जाए तो बहुत ही बढ़िया रहेगा।
हम बनाएंगे,
ऑल द लाइब्रेरी कंसर्न एंड मजा,
we'll make it
sure sir, thank you so much, thank you so much for being with us, even though you are very busy in the board meeting. Now I will request Shri Amit Vyas, the managing director of AMUL Dairy, very young and dynamic leader, has made so many changes and taking ahead the 100% digitalization of AMUL Dairy. Amit bhai, the platform is yours now.
Thank you sir. सबसे पहले सबको नमस्कार। आज जो ये वेबिनार रखा गया है उसके अंदर माननीय हमारे चीफ गेस्ट श्री पुरुषोत्तम रूपाला साहब, आनंद के सांसद श्री मितेश भाई, हमारे अमूल डेयरी के चेयरमैन श्री राम सिंह भाई परमार साहब, श्री मिनेश भाई चेयरमैन NDTV सोडी साहब, हमारे एमिल भाई जो हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं, उनके ग्रैंडसन हैं और मेरे अच्छे मित्र भी हैं और मैं उनसे काफ़ी बात करता रहता हूं और कई पुरानी जो उनकी जो स्टोरीज हैं थोड़ी बहुत उन्होंने मेरे साथ शेयर करी हैं। तो एमिल भाई से आज यहाँ उपस्थित हैं और एक बहुत बड़ा अच्छा जिसे कहते हैं कि आयोजन हुआ है जिसके बारे में हमको सबको रियली मंथन करने की जरूरत है। उस प्रोग्राम में हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं राजौरिया साहब और डॉक्टर मंजुला जी और उनके साथ साथ प्रोफेसर उमाकांत साहब, निखिल खरोट साहब और प्रजापति साहब और अमूल डेयरी और मेरे साथी मित्र जो IRMA से और अन्य जगह से जहां जुड़े हुए हैं उन सबको सबसे पहले मेरा खूब खूब नमस्कार। शुरुआत में सिर्फ एक त्रिभुवन काका की मतलब मैं तो बहुत यंग हूँ, मतलब उन्होंने जो कार्य किया उस समय बहुत छोटा था, पर मैंने काफी इंस्पायर हुआ क्योंकि मेरे फादर ने उनके साथ काम किया था। तो मैं उनसे कल रात को भी मैं पापा से बात करता हूँ, कई बार बात होती है, कुरियन साहब की बात होती है, त्रिभुवन काका की बात होती है, तो बताते रहते हैं, कई स्टोरियां हमें सुनाते रहते हैं। तो मैं शुरुआत तो यही करूंगा कि देयर इज अ कोट कॉल्ड सेल्फलेस एक्ट मेक्स यू रेयर बट डूइंग दोज यू ऑल्सो बिकम द रेयर। तो हम जो आज बात कर रहे हैं रेयरेस्ट ऑफ द रेयर त्रिभुवन काका, जिनको कि हम फादर ऑफ मिल्क कोऑपरेटिव्स इन इंडिया कह सकते हैं, उसमें कोई दोहरा नहीं है। तो जो सबसे बड़ी बात है त्रिभुवन काका की, जो सेल्फलेसनेस की बात है, तो अगर आप देखें तो 75 साल हमने मनाए, अमूल डेयरी के 75वें साल में हम हैं, और उसका जो बेस है ना वो त्रिभुवन काका की भावना है, त्रिभुवन काका का मन है, त्रिभुवन काका का डेडिकेशन है, और वो सेल्फलेस है, मतलब उसमें कोई अपना स्वार्थ नहीं था, इसलिए वो फाउंडेशन बनी है। और हम ये मानते हैं कि जो ये फाउंडेशन बनी हुई है इसके ऊपर ये हम सब खड़े हुए हैं, और उस फाउंडेशन की वजह से जो आज अमूल है, हम कह रहे हैं कि 60-70 हजार करोड़ की हो गई, अमूल डेयरी की बात करते हैं 10,000 करोड़ पे हम पहुंच जाएंगे। और जो डीएनए की थोड़ी सा हमने बात की है, वो डीएनए आज भी इनॉकुलेटेड ही है हमारे सब में, और हमारे चेयरमैन साहब राम सिंह भाई साहब हमेशा ये बात करते हैं कि जो थोड़ी सा हमने बात की, क्योंकि मैंने बहुत बार सुना है कि यहाँ जब हमारे बाकी के लीडर्स आते हैं वो एक ही बात करते हैं, भाई पॉलिटिकल चर्चाओं અહીંયા નથી કરવાની, આપણે જે કરવા ગેટના બહાર, मतलब गेट के बाहर डिस्कशन करना है, गेट के अंदर कोई चर्चा करनी नहीं है। तो जो सेल्फलेस भावना से जो ये खड़ी हुई संस्था है, और उसमें त्रिभुवन काका का एक ही उद्देश्य था, किसानों की मतलब उनका उत्थान करना, उनकी सेवा करना, और सेवा भी निस्वार्थ भाव से करना। जो बात कही गई है कि किसी की किसी भी जगह पे आना नहीं, वो मेरे फादर भी बताते हैं कि त्रिभुवन काका का नाम कहीं वो नहीं चाहते थे कि उनका नाम कोई जगह आ जाए, और वो हमेशा जिसे कहते हैं कि डेडिकेशन के साथ में जो भी कार्य करना उसको डेडिकेशन के साथ में करना। अगर मैं इसकी बात करूं तो जैसे सेल्फलेसनेस की जो मैंने बात की, उसके साथ साथ सिंप्लिसिटी और पेशेंस, ये दूसरा उनका जो गुण है। मैं कहता हूं कि इसके ऊपर जो मैनेजमेंट की जो थ्योरियां पढ़ाई जाती है ना, वो तो त्रिभुवन काका के अंदर से ही अगर समझ लेना उनको, तो ही वो मैनेजमेंट है आज की तारीख में, और उससे बड़ी अच्छी कोई किताब नहीं हो सकती। तो सिंप्लिसिटी के अंदर अगर आप देखें तो 27 साल तक वो चेयरमैन रहे, और अपनी मर्जी से छोड़ दिया चेयरमैनशिप के, ये नहीं कि भाई मैं बना रहा हूं, ऐसा बिल्कुल उनका स्वार्थ नहीं था। और उसके बाद अपने आप करके निकलने के बाद में भी, और उसमें भी कोई जो थोड़ी साहब ने बताया वो बिल्कुल सही है, किसी भी प्रोफेशनल को आज की तारीख में भी मैं बोलता हूं जो डीएनए चल रहा है, क्योंकि मैं अमूल में काम कर रहा हूं, 30 साल हो गए अमूल सिस्टम में काम करते हुए, ये बात तो जरूर है कि कोई भी, इवन हमारा डायरेक्टर साहब भी आते हैं, कोई मेंबर भी आता है, तो वो कभी भी ये देखता है कि प्रोफेशनल बिजी है तो उसको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करना, वो आज भी इनॉकुलेटेड है। तो देखिए कि जो जिसे कहते हैं कि जो उनकी जो सोच है वो आज भी आगे तक हमारे तक पहुंच चुकी है। तीसरी बात है उनका डिसिप्लिन। अगर एक चीज त्रिभुवन काका, क्योंकि मैंने फादर से सुना, वो कहते थे कि हमेशा आपके यहाँ पे कोई भी आया ना फार्मर, तो उसकी सुनो, क्योंकि उसको तकलीफ होगी तो ही वो आया है। तो कोऑपरेटिव के अंदर मतलब हर चीज को, भले वो गलत है या सही है, पर उसको सुनने की आप क्षमता रखिए। और वो हमेशा ये बात कहते थे कि चाहे वो फार्मर हो, चाहे वो एम्प्लॉय हो, चाहे वो बोर्ड मेंबर हो, हर एक जन की बात को सुनो और फिर निर्णय करो। और जिसमें उन्होंने, अगर हम बात करते हैं कि डॉक्टर कुरियन उनके साथ मिल गए थे, तो प्रोफेशनल को भी कैसे साथ लेके चलना, एक एग्जाम्पल बताया था हमारे फादर ने, कि एक टाइम आया था जब दलाया साहब थे और कुरियन साहब थे, तो एक टाइम पे दोनों ने रिजाइग्नेशन दे दिया था, और जब त्रिभुवन काका के पास में, जब क्योंकि वो चेयरमैन थे, गए थे, तो उन्होंने दोनों को बुलाया और दोनों को कहा कि तुम्हें कहीं नहीं जाना है, प्रोफेशनल के बिना मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूं। मगर आप देखिए तो लीडरशिप में प्रोफेशनलिज्म को भी उतना ही, उस जमाने में उनकी सोच ये थी कि एक प्रोफेशनल और एक लीडर, मतलब वो जो काम कर रहे थे मिलके काम करेंगे तो ही ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खड़ी हो पाएगी। और वो आज देखिए तो वो आज भी वो ट्रेंड है कि प्रोफेशनल के साथ में आज 75 साल में हम जहां खड़े हुए हैं, और जहां इंटीग्रिटी की बात होती है, जैसे मैंने बोला सेल्फलेसनेस, सिंप्लिसिटी, पेशेंस, डिसिप्लिन और इंटीग्रिटी। एमिल भाई है यहाँ पे, एमिल भाई के साथ बात हुई थी, और अगर हम यहाँ पे सुनते हैं कि अमूल डेयरी में त्रिभुवन काका का कोई भी रिलेटिव आज दिन तक अमूल डेयरी में नहीं है, और वो चीज उनकी, वो ये कहते थे कि मतलब मैं हूं और मेरी वजह से कोई मेरे फैमिली मेंबर भी अगर अंदर आ जाता है तो वो भी गलत है। आपको इंटीग्रिटी के बात बताऊं कि एक बार कुरियन साहब के साथ, कुरियन साहब को शायद पता नहीं था ये बात का, और उन्होंने एक वेंडर आया था, उस वेंडर को कुछ मिल्क टेस्टिंग मशीन्स का कुछ रिक्वायरमेंट था, तो उन्होंने कुछ उसका ऑर्डर दिया था, देने का था, तो त्रिभुवन काका को मालूम पड़ा, तो काका ने जो है वो कुरियन साहब को बोला कि नहीं, वो अमूल डेयरी के अलावा मेरा, क्योंकि वो मुझसे जान पहचान वाला है, मेरा रिलेटिव है, वो डेयरी में बिजनेस नहीं कर सकता, उसको डेयरी के बाहर जितना बिजनेस करना है, अमूल के अलावा जो बिजनेस करना है वो करे। मतलब ऐसी सोच कि जो इंसान थे वो आज की तारीख में मिलना बहुत मुश्किल है, पर हमें उनसे सीखना है और उसको इनॉकुलेट करना है, और उसको आगे, जैसे कहते हैं ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नेवर डाइज, अमूल 75वें साल में आने साले वाली पीढ़ी को भी ये समझना है कि ये सारी उनकी वैल्यूज थी। उसके बाद की मैं अगर बात करूं तो उनका डीप विजन की बात करें तो आज मैं अमूल डेयरी में अगर आप देखेंगे और अमूल डेयरी के बाद में सुमूल डेयरी की बात करें, बनास डेयरी की बात करें, तो आप देखिए वहां पे जो प्लांट है, आज बनास 80 लाख लीटर दूध करता है, हम यहाँ 50 लाख की दूध की बात कर रहे हैं, इतनी जमीन खरीदी। तो त्रिभुवन काका क्या विजन ऐसा था कि आज हम छोटे हैं पर भविष्य में हमें जरूरत पड़ेगी, तो जो उस जमाने में जो प्रॉफिट होता था ना, तो वो कहीं एफडी में या फिक्स डिपॉजिट में नहीं रखते थे। उनका एक ही उद्देश्य रहता था कि कैसे उसके साथ, अगर आप देखें तो अमूल डेयरी में आज हमारे पास इतनी जमीन है कि यहाँ पे हमारा खुद का प्लांट है, रेलवे क्रॉसिंग के पीछे एक प्लांट है, मतलब जगह है वहां, उसके अलावा अलग अलग जगह पे उन्होंने जमीन खरीद के रखी, जिसकी वजह से आज हमें इतना एक्सपेंशन हम कर रहे हैं। आज अमूल डेयरी अगर 1 करोड़ लीटर दूध भी यहाँ प्रोसेस कर लेना आनंद में, तब भी हमें जमीन की कमी नहीं पड़ेगी। आप सोचिए उनकी दूरदृष्टि कितनी थी, और रिस्पेक्ट फॉर प्रोफेशनल, ये दोनों ही चीजें। और तीसरी चीज, उस जमाने में अगर आप देखिए तो प्रोफेशनल पे विश्वास करके टेक्नोलॉजी का इंप्लीमेंटेशन, क्योंकि वो खुद तो गांव से थे, पर उन्होंने ये माना। आज भी अगर आप अमूल की बात करते हैं, हम अमूल डेयरी की बात करते हैं, तो टेक्नोलॉजी में हमेशा अमूल का नाम रहा है कि अमूल समय से पहले टेक्नोलॉजी ले आई, अमूल समय से पहले क्वालिटी की बात, मतलब उस जमाने से, चाहे वो फार्मर हो, चाहे वो दूध मंडली हो, उसको हमेशा पारदर्शिता सिखाया कि जो चीज है डेयरिंग के साथ बोल देना, मतलब जो उसको बेहिचक, चाहे फिर वो सभासद हो, चाहे वो मंडली हो, चाहे फिर वो अपना प्रोफेशनल हो, चाहे बोर्ड हो, जो चीज कहनी वो एकदम स्वस्थ, मतलब क्लियर कट कह देनी। ये सब चीजें जो हैं उनकी जो क्वालिटीज थी, और इन सब चीजों से अगर हम सीखें, आज अगर जो पूरी नई जनरेशन जो बैठी है वो अगर ये सीखे कि इन सब चीजों को, सेल्फलेसनेस, सिंप्लिसिटी, पेशेंस, डिसिप्लिन, इंटीग्रिटी और विजन और विश्वास, ट्रस्ट, मतलब अपनी टीम पे कैसा विश्वास रखना, अपने जो अपने मेंबर्स हैं उनके ऊपर विश्वास रखना, इन सबको अगर आप देखें तो ये मैनेजमेंट की किताब ही है अगर देखा जाए तो अल्टीमेट तो ये मैं ये कहूंगा कि उन्होंने सिखाया कि इन सबको अगर एकत्रित करते हैं ना, तो ये कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट है। इन सबका जो मिक्स, जो इकट्ठा हुआ, वो कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट है, जो आज चल रहा है और आने साल तक चलेगा। अभी हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कोऑपरेटिव डिपार्टमेंट की रचना, 75 साल बाद कोऑपरेटिव डिपार्टमेंट की एक रचना हुई है, जो त्रिभुवन काका ने 75 साल पहले जो किया था, वो अब नई शुरुआत हो चुकी है। और इसमें कोई दोहरा नहीं है कि उन्होंने सेल्फ सफिशिएंट मॉडल भारत को जो दिया है, विश्व को जो दिया है। और मुझे पता है कई सारे इंस्टीट्यूट विश्व से यहाँ आते हैं समझने के लिए ये चल कैसे रहा है, इतने सारे सिस्टम, ये फार्मर्स कैसे ये डेयरी को चला रहे हैं, पूरे अमूल सिस्टम कैसे चल रहा है, इसके ऊपर इतनी रिसर्च हुई है। तो आज हम त्रिभुवन काका को याद करके उनको हम वंदन करते हैं, नमस्कार करते हैं, और उनकी जो प्रेरणा है, उनकी जो सीख है, उसको अगर हम अपने जीवन में उतार लें तो अमूल जैसी अनेक संस्थाएं भारत के अंदर बन सकती है। नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय सरकार।
Thank you very much, Amit Bhai. It was interesting to learn some anecdotes and experience of our father, Dr. M.C. Vyas, who also served the entire life in dairy industry. Now we have with us Shri Patel. Probably उनको रात का 1 बज चुका है, but he is still active and we will be very happy to listen to you. Emil Bhai, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Prajapati. Respected Shri Rupala ji, Shri Mitesh Bhai ji, Shri Ram Singh Bhai ji, Shri Amit Bhai ji, who's a good friend of mine, Dr. Sodhi ji, Dr. Karod ji, Dr. Rajoria ji, Dr. Dash ji, Dr. Prajapati ji, Dr. Manjula Kaki ji, distinguished faculty, students, and guests. It is truly an honor to share the platform today with such an amazing leaders to pay tribute to my grandfather, known to many as Tribhuvan Kaka. Much can be said about this pure soul. However, today I will be speaking about his leadership qualities that were critical ingredients for the successful establishment of a cooperative ecosystem in Anand and beyond its boundary. When I talk about cooperative ecosystem, it consists of Kera District Cooperative Milk Union, AMUL, the mothership of all, Karma Bhumi of Kaka, Gujarat Cooperative Marketing Federation headed by Dr. Sodhiji, National Development Board, NDDB, Institute of Rural Management, Anand, where we have gathered today to talk about Tribhuvandas, Gujarat Cooperative Marketing, Gujuko Masol in Ahmedabad, and of course, TK Foundation, that is near and dear to me. The common goal for all this institution was to facilitate improvement the quality of life of farmers, first in nearby location and eventually throughout India. By many measures, these institutions that were formed under the leadership and vision of Tribhuvan Kaka have exceeded the expectations laid out at their formation and have continued to excel over the years. Tribhuvan Kaka, born as Tribhuvandas Patel, was always a leader from his very early age. It was clear that he wanted to make a difference in the community. His early association with Sardar Patel, Morarji Desai, H.M. Patel, together with Mahatma Gandhi's influence at Gujarat Vidyapith, shaped him to be a successful leader and an able administrator. From the Quit India movement to the cooperative revolution, his sole goal was providing selfless service to the people of India. As a freedom fighter and a servant leader, his fight was for freedom, equality, and justice for all. He was a quiet man who preferred to listen to others rather than speak. But whenever he spoke, whether it was an independence movement rallies, political rallies, dairy societies meetings, or in the parliament, people really listened to him. His moral principles gained him the trust, respect, and political backing from the highest authorities in the Indian government, which was critical for an organization's success. A lot of people do ask me about Tribhuvan Kaka's leadership qualities. I often tell them he was born to lead, but he kept things simple and believed in common sense leadership. He was extremely strategic and visionary leader who hired and mentored operational leaders like Dr. Verghese Kurien, Shri H.M. Dalaya, and Dr. Umaben Vyas to carry out his missions. He did not have any formal leadership training, but had great faith in his principles, instincts, and communication skills to fulfill his dreams and shared vision of great Sardar Patel. Once he recognized a talented person who could advance the cooperative movement, he would put trust that person to independently operate and make organizational decisions. This person will always have support of Tribhuvan Kaka, and from the operational standpoint, the person becomes indistinguishable from Tribhuvan Kaka himself. At the same time, he also had very little tolerance for people who lacked moral principles, and such people seldomly made it into the leadership roles, thus keeping the ecosystem homogeneous, clean, and productive. Tribhuvan Kaka empowered employees to carry out their responsibilities and believed that innovations happen when leaders at all levels have ability to contribute, independently operate, and make their own decisions. However, he also believed strongly in inclusiveness and discussion based on democratic decision-making process. He would encourage everyone to be a part of the process and wanted to everyone's voice to be heard in the decision-making exercise. Because of his great listening qualities, ability to quickly analyze information, he was able to make quick decisions. He did not allow bureaucracy to create any obstacles in the progress of the establishment. Dr. Kurien, Shri Dalaya, Dr. Ishwar Patel, Dr. Amritaben Patel, Dr. Umaben Vyas, and many others benefited from his leadership qualities of empowerment and democratic decision-making. Because of these qualities embedded in the entire ecosystem, it has seen sustained enormous growth since inception. Tribhuvan Kaka challenged everyone to be committed to the institution they were associated with. He always considered an institution above self and did not believe in governing from top down, but believed in governing with everyone. He believed that the organizational success should be not about one person, but be always about the farmers who worked hard every single day to make a livelihood and sacrifice so much. Thus, the responsibility of the organization's success must be shared and owned by every person associated with it. During the early days of White Revolution against British-supported dairies, Tribhuvan Kaka had to earn trust of the villagers by convincing them that they were not appropriately compensated and that they should refuse to sell milk to organizations that were exploiting them. Because of his moral principles and the work he had been doing for the freedom of India, the villagers put great faith in his fearless leadership and trusted that he would lead them towards more prosperous and self-sufficient life. The White Revolution led to the establishment of a cottage industry that eventually led to the creation of a AMUL model. Just as the villagers put trust in him, Tribhuvan Kaka put similar trust in Dr. Kurien, Shri Dalaya, and Dr. Umaben Vyas to lead various elements of the ecosystem, and they in turn put trust in people that they led. The whole enterprise could not have existed without the critical element of hierarchical model of trust. Tribhuvan Kaka treated everyone with respect and dignity, regardless of gender, culture, religion, caste, color, or socioeconomic status. For him, value of each human being was more important than any external factors. This quality translated into immense respect from everyone that worked with him. I was at late Shri Hashmukh Shah's residence, ex-IPCL chairman residence in 2018, and he had stated that Tribhuvan Kaka was once in a lifetime leader. We will never see another one like him in generations to come. So Husbandry summed him up as a great Gandhian leader who would say very little, but when he spoke in the parliament, there was a pin drop silence because everyone had a message they could take back to their constituency to make difference in people's lives. Tribhuvan Kaka formed and led many organizations, and the one that stands out the most is the one he led for 40 years as president of Harijan Sevak Samaj. This is a true testament of who he was and how much he wanted to uplift people of India out of poverty and how much he wanted to break the barriers of the caste system in India. The social status, organizational positions, including his, mattered little to him. A security guard at Tribhuvandas Foundation said about Tribhuvan Kaka's funeral, after the Tribhuvan Kaka's funeral, that this pure soul will never ever exist in this world again. One must assume that the statement of the guard was because Tribhuvan Kaka never once believed that his work was more important than the security guard who manned the gates. Such was the respect Kaka earned from everyone he encountered. Tribhuvan Kaka set very high ethical standards for himself, his family, and the employees of the organization. As evidence of his ethical standards, it is noteworthy that none of his own family members were ever associated with the organization, even if they were perfectly qualified to work there, because it could create a perception of nepotism in people's mind. He strongly believed that no one at the dairy or from outside the dairy, including himself, should consume anything manufactured by the dairy or misuse resources of the dairy for personal use. He wanted to set an example for all future leaders that the farmers' hard earnings must be respected and must not be misappropriated for personal benefits. He did not waver from this high ethical standard, thus requiring his wife, Maniben, to wake up early in the morning at 5:30 a.m. and stand in a line to purchase milk for Tribhuvan Kaka and their family. This high ethical standards were the reason people respected, loved him, put their faith in him, and government provided funding for his many endeavors throughout his life. Tribhuvan Kaka never believed in personal recognition, accolades, or personal credits, but being a true humble leader, he always credited his staff for all the successes and took responsibilities for the blames or the failures. From 1940s until 1980, he was one of the most influential political figures in the state of Gujarat, but he never did misuse his immense power or power for personal gain. His stature brought national leaders to Anand to seek understanding of milk cooperative movement. Despite high-profile Indians and foreign leaders visiting Anand to meet him, he would never use these visits and meetings to boast about his personality or popularity. He would often stand behind and let his operational leaders educate the visitors. He never once wanted to steal the thunder from his operational leaders. Such were his humble leadership qualities. In 1964, Shri Shastriji visited Anand and spent a night at Shri Ramanbai's house in Ajarpura to understand about the AMUL cooperative model. Although the idea of replicating the Anand model throughout India was seeded in 1964, there was very little funding available for its implementation and expansion. Around that time, Tribhuvan Kaka, along with Shri Morarji Desai, Srimati Maniben, Sardar Patel's daughter, Shri H.M. Patel, separated themselves from the political establishment of ruling Congress party, and they remained together with what was then called members of original Congress. And this political separation made it even more difficult to secure national funding from the ruling Congress party for the Anand model replication. Despite these initial difficulties between late 60s and early 70s, Kaka was persistent and remained optimistic about the goal of replicating dairy cooperatives across India. When Shri Morarji Desai became Prime Minister in 1977, Kaka made a compelling case to PM for central government funding for NDDB. Because of Kaka's credibility as a moral, ethical, and just leader, Shri Morarji Desai asked H.M. Patel, then Finance Minister, to release massive funds for the development of NDDB. The dairy expansion project started, and rest is history. This was the beginning of central funding that has helped many others in the ecosystem as well. Such was the power he possessed. It would be surprising to me if people at IRMA even knew that Tribhuvan Kaka was involved in its creation. It was his vision to continue generating future leaders for the organization. As a result, he had asked Dr. Kurien to set up a leadership institute, now called IRMA, that will generate future Dr. Kuriens for generations to come to lead cooperative establishment in their absences. Kaka understood that professional leadership will be needed in running the cooperative establishment and for expansion of Anand model across India. Such was Kaka's foresight about leadership. Kaka remained so humble to the point that his legacy was in danger of fading from the history of the Indian cooperative movement and Indian dairy industry until recently. It was puzzled to a lot of us, how can a person of his stature be forgotten in the area of cooperative movement for his immense contribution? Tribhuvan Kaka had tremendous compassion for people in rural areas. When visiting a dairy society, a woman mentioned to him that the care for cattle was more important than the health care for women. This was one remark that led to the creation of TK Foundation, an organization which was built to take care of women's and children's health care in rural areas. Tribhuvan Kaka gave his own land to set up this organization, and a mechanism was set up to fund it from his Karma Bhumi AMUL. Today, TK Foundation is providing healthcare in more than 800 villages in Kheda and Anand district. Such was Kaka's passion to make difference in rural health. In closing, the stories illustrating Kaka's character, vision, and leadership qualities tells us that there should not be anything to deter us from accomplishing our dreams. But while we fulfill our dreams, we should never lose sight of moral, ethical, and equality values when leading the organization. As a leader, stays humble and be inclusive. Remember, it is not about one person, but the team. I can assure you that even though Tribhuvan Kaka is not here with us, his vision, dreams, and principles are still well alive. Because of many hardworking people and tremendous leadership, this ecosystem with AMUL at its core has today become the face of the nation. We should all be proud of its rich heritage and legacy. It is my hope and belief that current and future leaders will continue contributing to the welfare of farmers for generations to come and beyond. It was truly an honor and my pleasure to share some of the stories about Kaka, and I hope everybody got educated on what I said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emil Bhai. You gave the right message for the young generation about the leadership quality of Kaka, and we'll all try to be and implement in real sense his principles together. I request the audience that we have 2 more speakers, and please stay with us for 20 more minutes. And I now request Dr. Manjula Patel. She has written a book on Tribhuvan Kaka, and she was very close to his family. So I think Dr. Manjula Ben will little bit highlight the anecdotes of working with him. Dr. Manjula Patel, please. Please unmute your. Unmute करजो मंजुला Ben. Muted છે તમારું mic. Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Now it's perfect.
Okay. Well, respected Mantri Shri and all the dignitaries over here, dear Emil, well, thank you very much for including me to the panel over here. About the book, yes, just now mentioned, I was asked by a school to deliver a lecture in English on Tribhuvan Kaka. And I'd been to AMUL Dairy, asked the PRO Sundaran about the book in English, and he said nothing is written in English. He requested me, and I took up the challenge. And here is the book I have written about Tribhuvan Kaka. This is the bio sketch only. What I want to say here, well, what is the character of a person? What made Tribhuvandas a Tribhuvandas? A house, a community, a family. Well, all these factors together make a person what he is. Well, Bhaktivedanta Swami in Bhagavad Gita says, outwardly performing all actions, but inwardly renouncing their fruits, the wise man, purified by the fire of transcendental knowledge, attains peace, detachment, forbearance, spiritual vision, and bliss. This is what Tribhuvan Kaka was. A small village Most of you must not have seen the background of Tribhuvan Kaka. He lived in Mota Adat, Anand. My in-laws also belong to Mota Adat, Anand, and I have very nearly, I had seen the family, how they were working, how they were living over there. A small sketch I will put, verbal sketch I will put in front of you. A small village, Anand, had one single tarmac road starting from Anand railway station to the Tower Bazaar, from where one can pass through a gate leading to the house in Mota Adat. There was no drainage system, a dirty water drain dividing the passage from his house to the gate. Animals, buffaloes, and bullocks were tied outside the house. An open manger and passage to pass through was also not very broad. Sometimes, unfortunately, clothes of the passers-by from this area messed up by the dung of the animals that flew around due to the tails dashed on the ground. Such situation continued even in the year 1955, which I have personally seen. That was the time when students from East Africa used to sail to India for university education. With a friend, a native of Mota Adat, Anand, I sailed to India and then to Anand, as I had no relatives in India, as all of them had migrated to Africa. When I reached Anand, I was shocked to see the situation. Since I was born and brought up in Dar es Salaam, the capital city of Tanganyika, now Tanzania, somehow I stayed on with the friend and completed my university education. There are three factors that mold one's life: one's character, home, surrounding, and school. Home is where one starts from. It is from home that one inherits the traits. This surrounding too leaves impressions in his mind, which later on develop his personality and character. Tribhuvandas' father, Shri Patel, a moneylender, had owned good areas of land in the village of Anand. He rented his land for farming in partnership with other farmers. Though not much educated, his experience in life endowed him with the expertise in dealing with his business. Young Tribhuvandas had watched his father dealing the business, and maybe he had inherited the tactics of business from his father. When he grew up, when he grew up with the tactics he was familiar with, he had as a child seen the marketing of milk by the women folk of his surrounding. Yes, home is the place from where what one learns, one appeals to one's professional life. His background was this. The most important factor after home and surrounding is the school. The role played by the teachers and the fellow students. It is the school that molds the character of a child. In Anand, Tribhuvandas went to the DN High School, Dadabhai Navroji High School, that had nationalist teachers imbued with the spirit of service to humanity. They were the staunch followers of Mahatma Gandhi. Here he came in contact with the enlightened social workers, namely Shri Thakkar Bapa and Indulal Yagnik. From them, he learned the lessons of sacrificing personal benefits for others. At Gandhiji's call, the schools were boycotted and that provided education to the British clerks. Many students left the school. During this time, Gandhiji established Gujarat Vidyapith in Ahmedabad to instill national integration. Tribhuvandas joined Vidyapith in Ahmedabad. The morals of Gandhian philosophy inspired him, and it became a part of his life. A staunch follower of Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel, he opted to wear khadi and formed a regular habit of spinning. The principles like wearing khadi and non-alcoholism were a part of his life. Tribhuvan Kaka, it is because of the following reasons Mahatma Gandhi also loved a poem prayer poem by Narsi Mehta, Vaishnava Janato. Why was it that Mahatma Gandhi liked it so much? A true devotee of Lord Vishnu is the one who feels the suffering of others. Even when he helps them, he is not an egoist and arrogant. He is humble and respects everyone and does not criticize anyone. He is the one who keeps restraint in his speech, dressing, and controls his senses. He is positive in his speech and action. Blessed is the mother of such a person who lives as an ascetic, is an even-minded, impartial, and free from all desires and respects women as his mother, never tells lies, is the follower of truth, never craves for money or property. That does not belong to him. No worldly attachment can tempt him as he is free from it. He is the one intoxicated in the name of God, Rama, God's incarnation, and believes in Jan Seva as Prabhu Seva. The service to humanity and suffering humanity is the service to God. As a result, his mind is as pure as any holy place. He is free from greed and deceit, from anger and desire. This is what makes Tribhuvandas' personality. Within 1 year of Vidyapith, seeds for the service to humanity were sown in his mind, and he never looked back. Unfortunately, within 1 year at Vidyapith, he had to leave it as his father died. Tribhuvandas had to wind up his father's business. Now he was free to walk on the path of the principles dear to his heart. At Vidyapith, he had the opportunity to see the number of leaders, namely Sardar's brother Vittal Bhai, his son Dayabhai, and his daughter Maniben as well. By 1955, Tribhuvandas had established himself as a devoted social leader, but still he continued to stay in his ancestral house. If anyone wanted to go to the bazaar, one had to pass through the Mota Arad gate. Tribhuvandas, my in-law's house, was in the middle of the 2 lanes dividing the gate, one leading to the houses on the right side, the other leading to the houses on the left-hand side. The left side, when one enters from the gate, was leading to Tribhuvandas' house, whereas the right-hand side leading to the another respected person of Anand, Shri Patel, who was a municipal councillor. Each day in the morning, Tribhuvandas would walk down to the main gate of Motadad, carefully walking by the side of the dirty water drain to attend meetings at the Samiti building. Sometimes the vehicle from the Samiti would drive him for the meeting. What I want to explain here is the background of this great man, a farmer's son. He grew up hearing the bellowing up of the animals. What he had seen in his childhood had left permanent impression on his mind. That is why when Sardar Patel advised him to do something specially for the farmers of his place, he readily accepted the suggestion to uplift the lives of the farmers, the sons of the soil of Kheda district, as they were conversant with the practice of selling milk. To change the mindset of the lifestyle of people, one must win the support of the people. Tribhuvandas moved from place to place in the district, endured all the discomforts and difficulties, patiently waited for the farmers to return from the day's work at their farms, then talked to them. His voice, his sweet voice, always impressed them. He talked to them about cooperatives. Morarji Desai, the then member of the Congress party and later on the Prime Minister of India, was assigned to organize the meeting of the farmers and form milk cooperatives in Khera district. He selected Tribhuvandas Patel, no doubt against his wish, the chairman of the Khera cooperative. The selection of Morarji Desai did not go wrong. Tribhuvandas Patel emerged as a much taller figure than anyone would have expected. A staunch Gandhian, he followed Mahatma Gandhi's call for Sarvodaya and Gramodhar. Gandhiji was inspired after reading a book by English writer John Ruskin, Unto This Last, which was given to him by his friend Henry Pollock in South Africa. Gandhiji believed we are inheritors of a rural civilization. To uproot it and substitute it with urban civilization seems to be impossibility. He was against using compulsion or force on rural community. He said people should be taken into confidence and convinced to accept the change. Tribhuvandas Patel devoutly followed Gandhiji's mission and devoted his life in the service of the villagers of Gujarat. The concept of cooperation, Sahkar, was not new to him. He had read about it and in school days had written an essay on it. As a follower of the Mahatma, he tried to initiate the rural community of Gujarat in the movement of Sahkar. His gentle, sweet voice, his words coming right through his heart, his impressive tall personality, clad in white khadi, impressed the villagers, and they were convinced to be the members of the cooperative. In 1946, the Kera District Cooperative Milk Producers Union Limited was registered by the farmers. I always believe that destiny plays a great role in individual's life. This reminds me of a rubaya by Omar Khayyam, the astronomer poet of Persia. He writes, "'Tis all a checkerboard of nights and days, where destiny with men for pieces plays. Hither and thither moves and meets, and destiny brought Dr. Kurien to Anand to help Tribhuvandas. However reluctant was he to stay in this village, town Anand, he could not go back. Anand had a magnetic pull, and Dr. Kurien stayed on. It's a very true. When Mr. Amrut Nahata, it has been already mentioned, and Dr. Kurien said, sans Tribhuvandas, sans Kurien, I cannot come and establish a dairy over there. Kurien alone cannot do that. Anyway, to my mind, one was never complete without the other. Dr. Kurien's battle of Kurukshetra of bringing white revolution to India was initiated, inspired, and supported by this great man of Anand, a Padma Bhushan, a Raman Magsaysay awardee, Shri Tribhuvandas Patel. He handed over the awarded money to Dr. Kurien, who established Tribhuvandas Foundation. I had with my husband, before leaving this transcendental word, Tribhuvan Kaka was waiting to see Dr. Kurien. This was the relation between the two. My experience I'm telling you here because I was present at that time. I had with my husband, Dr. Kantibhai Patel, had gone to his house for his last darshan. His wife, respected Manikaki, took us inside. In short, Tribhuvan Kaka was waiting to say goodbye to Dr. Kurien. Every now and then, in faint voice, he would ask, Kurien avya? Ketle dur che? He would be informed, Ahmedabad avi gaya che, ave che, and he would wait patiently over there. At last, Dr. Kurien arrived, and so we all left the room for their final meet. And in a very short time, Kaka went in his eternal sleep. There was peace on his face. I was fortunate enough to be present over there. And my Shat Pranam to Kaka, the Pan who has brought the name of Anand, who has brought the name of Mota Anand, who has named the Patels of Anand, who has uplifted all the farmers of this country. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manjula Ben. It was really emotional to hear your attachment with Tribhuvan Kaka and the attachment of Tribhuvan Kaka and Dr. Kurien. We are running out of time, and we have now last but very important speaker, Dr. G.S. Rajoria. He is a very renowned dairy professional of our country and also the president of Indian Dairy Association. I request Rajoria sir to give his address. Dr. Rajoria sir, please.
इस विशेष वेबिनार में उपस्थित सभी प्रतिभागियों को मेरा अभिवादन, नमस्कार, श्री कृष्ण। मित्रों, यह मेरा सौभाग्य था कि पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट विद्यार्थी के रूप में अक्टूबर 1957 में आनंद भ्रमण के समय हमारी सुखद मुलाकात श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल के साथ हुई। उनसे मिलने के समय हम सभी को आनंद भ्रमण के पश्चात एक सुखद आनंद का एहसास हुआ। मुलाकात के दौरान उन्होंने देश में डेयरी महाविद्यालयों की स्थापना की चर्चा की, जहां से डेयरी प्रतिभाओं की आपूर्ति की जा सके। उस समय मात्र वल्लभ राजपूत कॉलेज आगरा में ही एमएससी की हस्बेंड्री डेयरिंग की क्लासेस लगाई जाती थी। इसके पूर्व बेंगलोर में स्थित इंपीरियल डेयरी रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट, जो अब एनडीआई का क्षेत्रीय संस्थान है, में एसोसिएट कोर्स की पढ़ाई होती थी। त्रिभुवनदास पटेल के प्रेरणा प्राप्त करके कालखंड में लगभग उस बैच के सभी विद्यार्थी डेयरी के प्रख्याता, वैज्ञानिक तथा आचार्य बन गए। अमूल डेयरी के भ्रमण के समय श्री वर्गीस कुरियन से भी मुलाकात हुई, जिन्होंने हमें यह सहकारिता के सिद्धांतों पर आधारित डेयरी विकास की परिकल्पनाओं के संबंध में 2 घंटे का एक भाषण दिया। वे बहुत ही प्रखर वक्ता थे। श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल ने 1939 में खेड़ा जिले में अमूल की स्थापना की। पॉल्सन डेयरी द्वारा किसानों का शोषण होता था। उन्होंने किसानों को सहकारिता के सिद्धांतों की खूबियां बताई और दूध पैदा करने वाले किसानों को एक साथ जोड़ा। त्रिभुवन भाई ने स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन और सविनय अवज्ञा आंदोलन में सक्रिय भागीदारी निभाई, जिस कारण उन्हें 3 बार कारावास जाना पड़ा, 1930, 1935 और 1942 में। उन्हें मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी और सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल के अनुयायी के रूप में याद किया जाता रहेगा। उन्होंने वर्गीस कुरियन को 1950 में डेयरी चलाने का काम सौंपा और वे 2005 तक उस डेयरी के महाप्रबंधक रहे। त्रिभुवन भाई ने उनसे कहा कि आप ऐसी रणनीतियां विकसित करें जिससे कि हमारे दूध के उत्पाद अमूल के नाम से बंबई के बाजारों में बिकें। त्रिभुवनदास और कुरियन के बीच संबंधों के बारे में आप सभी ने यहाँ प्रतिभागियों से सुना। हमें विदित है कि उन दोनों के संबंध बहुत ही मधुर, शिक्षक और शिष्य, वास्तुकार और निर्माता की तरह रहे। उन्हें कुरियन पर भरोसा था कि कुरियन कोई गलत काम नहीं करेंगे। दोनों महारथियों की मेहनत का फल आज हम 75 वर्ष बाद भी गुजरात कोऑपरेटिव मिल्क मार्केटिंग फेडरेशन के रूप में देख रहे हैं। उन्हें भारत में सहकारिता आंदोलन के जनक के रूप में भी जाना जाता है और पटेल को छोटे राज्यों को मिलाने के बाद एक बृहद भारत की रचना का श्रेय जाता है। त्रिभुवनदास पटेल राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस कमेटी के सचिव तथा अध्यक्ष रहे। 1967-68 और 68 और 74 में 2 बार वो राज्यसभा के सदस्य रहे। 1970 में जब वे स्वेच्छा से अमूल की अध्यक्षता से सेवानिवृत्त हो रहे थे, तो उन्होंने डॉक्टर वर्गीस कुरियन को वो पूरे सभी काम सौंप दिए जो उनके द्वारा किए जा रहे थे। इस समय पूरी ग्राम सहकारी समितियों द्वारा 6 लाख रुपए का एक पर्स दिया गया, जिसके प्रति सदस्य का योगदान 1 रुपया था। इस फंड से उन्होंने एक धर्मार्थ ट्रस्ट शुरू किया, जहां महिलाओं और बच्चों के स्वास्थ्य पर काम करना प्रारंभ किया। आज यह फाउंडेशन एशिया में सबसे बड़ी एनजीओ है जो 800 गांव में काम करती है। एमिल पटेल से आपने इसके संबंध में चर्चा विस्तार से सुनी। स्वास्थ्य केंद्र आधुनिक अस्पतालों का रूप ले रहे हैं। त्रिभुवनदास पटेल ने दूध के अतिरिक्त तेल जैसी
जिंसों के लिए भी सहकारी संगठन स्थापित करने का कार्य किया। मृत्यु से पूर्व कैराक के किसानों ने उन्हें आश्वस्त किया था कि उनके चलाए गए आंदोलन निरंतर चलते रहेंगे। ऐसा लोगों में कहा गया है कि उन्होंने डॉक्टर कुरियन को अंतिम क्षणों में याद किया, और जैसा कि अभी आपने सुना, अंतिम क्षणों में जब तक कुरियन साहब से नहीं मिले, उन्होंने अपने लास्ट क्षणों को सजो के रखा। निरंतर पनप रही विदेशी सहकारिता के बारे में भी उनके ध्यान में काफी कुछ रहा। लगभग 91 वर्ष संघर्षमय जीवन के उपरांत कैरा जिले के बहुत ही मधुर, मृदुभाषी, ईमानदार, कर्मठ नेता ने अपनी अंतिम सांस 3 जून 1994 को ली। मानो एक युग का अंत हो गया। ऐसे प्रेरणादायक व्यक्ति के सम्मान में इंडियन डेयरी एसोसिएशन श्री त्रिभुवनदास पटेल के नाम पर एक राष्ट्रीय स्तर का डेयरी रत्न पुरस्कार है, जिससे आगे आने पीढ़ियां भारत में सहकारिता को बढ़ाने हेतु गति प्रदान कर सकें। आईडीए के इस प्रस्ताव की नई चुनी हुई केंद्रीय कार्यकारी समिति के समक्ष प्रस्तुत किया जाएगा। आवश्यक अनुमोदन के पश्चात इस पारितोषिक की स्थापना की जाएगी। किसानों के सभी उत्पादों को सहकारिता के आधार पर बाजारों में बिक्री के लिए उतारना होगा। कई राज्यों में सहकारिता का संपूर्ण विकास नहीं हो सका है। कृषकों की भलाई हेतु हमें सहकारी मॉडल पर अधिक ध्यान देना होगा। उन्हें बिचौलियों के चंगुल से बाहर निकालना बहुत आवश्यक है। यह बहुत ही चुनौतीपूर्ण कार्य है। कृषकों की उपज पर अधिक आमदनी देने हेतु उत्पादों को विदेशी बाजारों में प्रसिद्ध ब्रांड के विक्रय करने की योजना सरकारों की कार्यशैली में शामिल है। मिडिल ईस्ट, पश्चिमी एशिया, अफ्रीका और पूर्वी एशिया के कई देशों में भारत के आधुनिक कारखानों में बने हुए दुग्ध उत्पादों की मांग बढ़ रही है। क्वालिटी और फूड सेफ्टी मानकों का ध्यान रखना आवश्यक होता है। आईडीए ने भारत सरकार के समक्ष एक अलग से डेडिकेटेड डेयरी एक्सपोर्ट प्रमोशन काउंसिल की स्थापना करने की सिफारिश की है। इस समय देश में 6.5% की दर से दुग्ध उत्पादन में बढ़ोतरी हो रही है, किंतु खपत मात्र 4% ही है। इस 2.5% अधिक दूध को निर्यात करने की आवश्यकता है। 200 मिलियन टन कुल उत्पादन पर यह आंकड़ा 5 मिलियन टन होगा। इस समय हम मात्र 1% या से कम दूध का भारत सरकार ने इसे 10% तक बढ़ाने का लक्ष्य रखा है। निर्यात को एक नई दिशा देने के लिए फिलहाल मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हस्बैंड्री एंड डेयरिंग ने एक समिति का निर्माण किया है, जो इस संबंध में और विस्तार से चर्चा करेंगे। मैंने अब सभी सहभागियों को, डेयरी इंडस्ट्रीज को इस संबंध में उनसे सुझाव मानने की पत्र लिखे हैं। आशा है कि शीघ्र ही उनसे उनके कमेंट समझेंगे। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की ये भी प्लान है कि हमारे जो डेयरी प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, घी, श्रीखंड, बफलो मिल्क जो A2 मिल्क के लिए फेमस है, जिसमें हाई अमाउंट ऑफ प्रोटीन और कैल्शियम है, और भी बहुत से उत्पाद हम विदेशों में भेजने के लिए इच्छुक हैं, और आशा है कि शीघ्र ही हम इस लक्ष्य को प्राप्त करेंगे। धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much, sir, for very enlightening speech and proposing about the award from IDA side. That will be related to the dairy industry and Tribhuvan Kaka. Actually, I wanted to hear some other speakers also, but we are already late, and that is why I will just beg pardon from all other attendees and be thankful to all of them for being present with us throughout. So we will be providing the recordings of this to every one of you, and you can definitely watch it on the IRMA's official website. So I am not spending now time in concluding these things, but at the end, it is my duty and pleasant duty to just thank all of you who are present listening to this, and very much thankful to the Honorable Minister Shri Rupala ji for being with us and addressing and giving some insights. And it is well taken, as Minesh Bhai has taken, already mentioned in his comment. So we are thankful to Chairman NTDB. We are thankful to Ramsibhai Parmar, the Chairman AMUL Dairy, Dr. R.S. Sodi, Dr. Sri Amit Vyas, Emil Bhai, Manjula Patel, Dr. Rajoria Saab, and our own director, Professor Umakant Das, and other faculty members who are with us. I see Dipaksha MD, Vidya Dairy. I see Arun Patil, the chairman of Western Zone of IDA. R.K. Malik from IDMC, and Dr. J.V. Parekh is very veterinary professional, and so many people have joined and made this program a very much success. And Emil Bhai for being with us for the late. Now it will be early morning for you, and we really love Tribhuvan Kaka, and we'll definitely try to take his values forward. And the Dr. Verghese Kurien Center of Excellence was established and being supported by the Dairy Industry, mainly GCMF and so at the IRMA. And also we are taking help of the Indian Dairy Association. Gujarat chapter is with us, and the whole through Dr. Rajoria, the whole nation is with us. And we'll be definitely taking certain messages forward, and we'll keep you updated about the what is going on.